is my witness, they watching my moves like shows they binging. Hey, best keep distance, all of my haters send best of wishes. I get to the bag with the quickness, no I don't need no assistance, no. Yeah, no playing it safe, I said let's get it, you say not today. What can I say, you ain't gon' go for it, get out the way. Yeah, got no time to waste, can't be with me if you not at my pace. You not at my level, you not in my race. One foot on the gas, I'm pushing the brakes. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. Yeah, by any means. I gotta get it, don't mind it. I gotta get it, don't mind it. I gotta get it, don't mind it.
The road to BMW Sim Live makes its final stop at the Hockenheim ring. 20 drivers have already locked their place into the grand showdown in just 7 days' time. And today we write the final chapter in the 2021 BMW SIM GT Cup and hand out the final 4 golden tickets to join the fight at Sim Live. For the final time in 2021, welcome to BMW eSports and RaceSpotTV for the BMW SIM GT Cup action. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, and alongside once more is Lewis McLeod. Lewis, it's been an incredible journey so far. Still more twists and turns yet to come, of course, and lying in wait for 4 drivers after 2 hours of action, the chance to fight at BMW Sim Live in just a week's time, where they'll be fighting it out with the Coanda and Redline cars that qualified in Season 1 and the smorgasbord of cars that have qualified their way so far in Season 2.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had Season 1 was all about Coanda versus Redline. Season 2 has been about Redline versus everyone else. It's been fantastic, to be perfectly honest. But now we get to see some other names jump into the mix. No Redline, no Coanda in this today. So the focus is more towards teams like BS Competition, towards Uranus, towards Fira, who did fantastic last time out. This is where we get the more unknown quantities thrown into the mix, and that's what's going to make it exciting. And
a reminder, this is an invite-only finale, so the drivers and the teams, I should say, that finished 2nd through 5th in each of our first 4 races have worked their way and been invited into this finale at Hockenheim. Our finale in Season 1 was at the Nürburgring, where Coanda really did make sure they dominated once more, locked up all 4 tickets in that invitational round. Should be noted, only 15 teams though, and we'll get into some of the reasons why. Lots of swapping and changing behind the scenes for the teams and drivers. Silly season, well and truly underway as we enter into the World Championship year as 2021 comes to a close. Let's talk a little bit though about the road that it's been to get here. Season 1, all about the M8 GTE, a car that has now officially ran its final race in North America last night at the 2021 Motul Petit Le Mans podium for that M8 GTE. But Season 2 has been all about the M4 GT3, the car that debuted on the iRacing service before it even turned a wheel in anger in full metal action. We've been on a grand tour across the world: Imola, Circuit of the Americas, Bathurst, Monza, regular season races. Now, Hockenheim lies in wait. And while in the 4 regular season races, Lewis, there was cash up for grabs, this time around, it's just about those tickets to BMW Sim Live.
Yeah, full focus. No one cares about who finishes 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, etc. It's just about who finishes 1st and 2nd. You said it before, Nürburgring last season, it was all about Coanda. This time I'm not expecting a team to 1-2 this race. From the season that we've had so far here, we've had Kova go through into our season finale next week, had MSI eSports, and had 2, if I remember correctly, Redline cars already go through, or rather with the victories from those races. It's been interesting to see how they've adapted to this car, to a new car essentially for them in the BMW M4 GT3. But there are a couple of teams that have figured it out as the season's gone on, and I wonder how much stronger they're going to be, because if there are teams from the start of the season, like PRT, Ronin, SimSport, who were right up to speed with the car, I'm not necessarily sure that they're going to do quite as well here as they did earlier on.
I think it's a really interesting race that we've got in store for us. And here's a reminder of how things have shaken out. It's not always been this simple because, well, the Redline cars that won and locked themselves into Sim Live in Season 1 have been fighting it out in Season 2. Max Benecke in particular has a couple of race wins so far in Season 2. But it does mean the top 4 that have not already locked themselves into Sim Live into the Season 2 finale, one final opportunity to get those tickets into our Sim Live finale 7 days from now. Here's a look at the qualifiers. Season 1, like we said, all about Redline versus Coanda. It came down, though, to that finale where 4 of the Coanda drivers locked themselves in. In Season 2, first it was Kova striking the first blow, then it was MSI eSports. Great drive from Alejandro Sanchez and Christian Lamela, who dominated at the Circuit of the Americas. It was Redline the last couple of races that have managed to lock themselves in. It's now an equal fight between Redline and Coanda. The story's yet to be told though, Lewis. Who else will join them in that showdown in 7 days' time?
How excited are you, though? I mean, I'm certainly looking at it thinking, oh, we've got Redline versus Coanda in a week's time, and not just a couple of Redline and Coanda, 8 each. That's going to be fantastic, but that is kind of, as our focus draws towards that, and we know the other teams as well will kind of focus a bit more on that as well, it's the chance then for someone else to sneak underneath and get through and, win, etc., etc. And who's better at doing that? Well, Cover. Cover would love to have 2 cars in there. They'll definitely be trying to get through. I mean, everyone's trying to get through today, but Cover would be a car that I'd focus on right here this evening.
And with well, it depends where you are in the world. It could be
exactly.
morning, evening, or afternoon. Yeah, exactly. Here's a look then at our entry list for today. I did mention, instead of 16 4x4 in the first 4 races, 15 cars have worked their way to the Hockenheim ring today. And that's because BS Competition and Phil Denez, well, he qualified in 2 entries. And the way it worked is that they thought it would be unfair. So he's only being allowed to race in 1 of them instead of racing 2 of them. But you can see there is opportunity for multiple teams to put forward multiple cars. I do wonder if we're going to see the team games come into effect here, Lewis. If you're BS Plus, if you're Fire, even RHE, Roman Grosjean Esports, Williams Esports, you have the opportunity here to play the team game. Use your 2 cars in harmony to try and lock both of yourselves in. In RHE and Williams cases, they've got 3 cars. One of them, if 2 qualify, will be the odd man out. Be interesting to see how that all shakes up.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way, right? From all of the teams that we've got across this afternoon's racing, is that we only have 1 team that's actually got a car in our season finale. That's Cover. Everyone else is trying to just at least get 1 car in. I think we'll definitely see some form of team games played, but let's be honest, they want to get both cars in. No BS competition, and considering how strong they've been in this car in the recent past, you're kind of surprised by that. Surely they'll be in the top 2 today, but will it be first and second? Will RHG get up there? Williams? Will someone else spring a surprise? I mean, who knows what will happen? Fire, that was so strong last round out, maybe they'll be up in the mix.
Lasse Back and Mikkel Gard. That's a new team, Fire Simsport. Mikkel Gard was in action with BS Competition in the Season 1 finale. Lasse Back, who qualified for this event with the Williams team first, now lines up with his new team, the Fire Simsport outfit. Here's a look then at today's venue. Very flat, a track that was first built in 1932, 12 kilometers in length. It has been shortened over the years. It now sits at just 4.5 kilometers. But it's very flat, and I think that's one of the most distinctive features about this track here today, Lewis, is the fact that there's very little elevation change. You've got some tight, twisty sections, of course, the arena and then the stadium sections, but characterized by, again, classic setup difficulty. Top speed versus slow speed. How do you go about making sure your M4 is quick here today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sad about the old layout that we had back in like 2001 and all that lot, and obviously years before. Fantastic layout, great for racing. This track is obviously an awful lot shorter. This one that we've got used to over the last 20 or so years. It is flat, like you say. It is kind of, I wouldn't say hard to race. You've got opportunities to race, but it's kind of sometimes hard to get past me because the primary opportunity is down into the hairpin, where getting around the outside, inside of people can be quite easy to cover off. So it's not a simple slam dunk of let's go racing. However, if we remember back a little while ago to the Sports Car Open Sprint Masters that we had a few months ago, when Cover went around the outside of Coanda to go and win that day. They're confident around this track. They've got precedent. They know how to win here, so they already know roughly how to set the car up that's advantageous to them.
Lewis is time traveling, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all over the place, mate. It's not only the evening, morning, and afternoon, but also only a couple of weeks ago that we were racing.
Well, to be fair, you've had a bit of an interesting weekend so far. For those who watch other simulator action, you'll know what I'm referring to. And that's the other great thing, Lewis. I don't know if we're meant to publicly be talking about it too much yet, but Sim Live, 7 days from now, you've got Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2, and iRacing. All 3 simulators represented.
Absolutely, and it's not quite the same as having it's not as if these drivers are going to be racing on those 2 platforms. It's each platform has had its own competition to build up into the finale, but it's great to see 3 platforms coming together with one competition in solidarity and seeing which on each is the best. And I mean, to be fair, it's a tough competition across the board. It's not just here on iRacing that we've had strong competition. It's everywhere, and it's fantastic to see one event for all of them to come to the fore.
Well, I tell you what, for the final time this season in BMW SIM GT Cup action, let's work our way trackside here in the Hockenheim ring. Let's take a look at our starting grid. 15 cars dialed up and ready to go. It will be Kenny Roosen for Valkyrie Esports on pole position. 1 lap from the 48 machine. We know just how quick they can be in this BMW M4 GT3. They'll be alongside the 777 of Antti Ahola for Kova, less than half a tenth between the front row. Phil Denez only 6 thousandths, I should say, further back from the 777. He'll be alongside Alessandro Bico in the Williams Esports Razor car. Half a tenth of a second separating the top 4. Incredible. Lasse back, not much further back in 5th position, alongside Daniel Lafuente to round out the top 6, with Daniel Pastor for Urano Esports and Andreas Jokumstein 7th and 8th positions. Valentin Mandernach, that's a car that's got World Championship experience with it. He'll be sharing with Florian Lebigra, with Julian Kesselhut on the edge of the top 10. John Vining for PRT Ronin Simsport in the number 78, best number in all of racing, alongside Quintin Vialate for the RAG Esports number 15. Elliot Veyron, Ate Kauppinen, and Jimmy Antunes complete the 15 cars ready to go. 4/10 of a second separating our competitors here. It is going to be a wild race, and it's always scary, if we're being completely honest here, Lewis. That run down into the hairpin the very first time. I'm hoping, though, with 15 cars, it's a little bit more tame than normal.
Yeah, we're going to see. Look, I want everyone to remain clean and remain tidy, but you do get the feeling that there's going to be some form of drama down into the hairpin, and thankfully, prepared for that. We've got people eyes on, ready to penalise anyone if they're at fault. It's going to be tricky, though. It's so easy to trip over each other, even with just 15 cars.
That's a good point. Live race control ready to ding anyone who falls afoul of our race stewards here today. Let's get some predictions then, Lewis. And yeah, no, I don't even know which way you'd go for this race.
No, I don't know either. I've got to kind of go a little bit with my heart. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Valkyrie Esports, it's a fantastic lap in qualifying. It's going very slow at the moment, though, and Kova have run off to go and chase the pace car with Ahola. I think that Kova will get through. I think Kova are going to be really, really strong around here.
What about the second car, though?
BS Competition.
Okay, I was going to say BS Competition and maybe Williams, but let's be honest, no clue. Absolutely no clue. What we do know is 2 cars, 4 drivers will compete in 7 days' time in BMW Sim Live. Away we go. Valkyrie Esports picks up the throttle. Season finale is green. Storming their way into turn 1, some contact between BS Competition and the Williams car. BS looks to the inside of Kova, who will hold strong through turn number 1. They do run themselves off the track, but there's no harm, no foul. 15 cars safely through the turn 1, now working their way down into turn 2, and they'll sweep their way onto this long run down into the hairpin.
A little bit of contact further back between one of the BS Competition cars, the number 90, and RAG Esports. Kenny Roosen, though, leading right now, and very, very comfortably indeed, has pulled out a decent amount of gap. He doesn't have to really worry about going into the hairpin. Someone who does have to worry, though, is Phil Denez, who's got Alessandro Bico all over the rear end of him. Is he going to go around the outside of the hairpin? It's going to be tight. I think BS Competition might hang on. Look at Fire coming in there.
They're not going to be able to get the power down, though. Bico should be able to get the run out of the hairpin and in towards turn 7, and indeed they do. Already some gaps starting to form. RAG side by side with the second of the BS cars. That's the big red machine that we love to see on action. Long way around for them. Once again, not the way you want to go, as through the arena section for the very first time. Some action between one of the RAG cars and Andreas Jokumstein in the second of the Fire cars. Team cars very much split up and down the grid as 3 abreast as they work their way into the stadium. Not what you want to see. PRT Ronin bullying the Williams Esports Ben Q car down into the final spot in the grid. Meanwhile, though, out front, Kenny Roosen trying to build up an advantage. Yeah, but he has lost a lot of time, though, over the last few seconds. By a lot of time, I mean maybe 0.2 of a second. It seems like a lot at this kind of level. So tight in qualifying. They're going to be so tight in the race. And obviously the slipstream punching a nice hole there for Antti Ahola. But across the line, as you say, Valkyrie Esports over the first lap. They're in a great position right now from pole position. But things are looking a little bit less comfortable on that run down towards the hairpin. The first lap was great. The second lap might be a little bit more concerning. And so we're right on board with the American Phil Denez. I am always shocked as to how, despite the fact that sim racing is truly a global competition, someone like Phil Denez, who it is 5:45 in the morning for, elects to wake up and elects to start these races. If I was him, I would want to do the second stint of the race, and we know just how quick. You're talking of SEO Sprint Masters. Denez has been a charger in the closing stages of those GT3 races. A little bit sideways for Kova on the entry to the corner, but looks okay for now. And I do think we are going to see a lot of single file early in this one. Fuel saving, again, it's only a 2-hour sprint, so not necessarily trying to play any long strategy games, but whatever you can do to really make your pit window as flexible as possible is going to be crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I, by the way, get a chance to bump into Phil Denez at Sim Expo of all places? I remember when I was walking past, I was like, hang on, didn't you come from California? Like, what are you doing here? Obviously, you know, obviously was over for other reasons as well. But still, having come over, doing a bit of sim racing. So sim racing does matter to Phil Denez. So waking up at that kind of time in the morning, fair enough. I mean, it is very, very early to get racing, as I'm sure you're aware of. It's tough. It's hard to keep the concentration up, though, when you're tired like that. And it's kind of why you'd ask the question, maybe why not wait until the second half of the race and then sort of at least give yourself an extra hour in bed. But sometimes you just kind of want to get it out, and then you can breathe and relax and then go and have a little bit of a nap and get on with life.
And just a reminder, by the way, you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to RaceSpotTV/timing. Follow your favorite team and drivers. Oh, the great thing about a 15-car race is you can see all 15 cars on the left-hand side of your screen as well, so it shouldn't be too hard to follow along with your favorite team and drivers here today. Was some passing on the first couple of laps, but as we work lap number 3, seems to have calmed down just a little bit. The gap's opening up. A couple of cars now separated by half a second, but well and truly a draft train with 15 cars separated by just 6 seconds. And I mentioned it earlier, Valkyrie Esports, they were strong at times in this BMW M4 GT3 in that Sports Car Open Sprint Masters. It's great to see Kenny Roosen picking right back up where he left off. It's fair to say, after the impressive performances, kind of tailed off for him there at the end of the summer. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, look, they were certainly ones, and around here as well, where we kept our eyes on them in the season opener. Again, they seem to be one of those teams that we were speaking of that jumped into this M4 and instantly got up to speed. And as particularly the second season here in the BMW SIM GT Cup, some other teams started to figure it out, like Redline. They really did get up to speed, and over the last couple of rounds, 1-2, the last 2 races in the series. Of course, they've already gone through into our season finale. That's why they're not here today. But it's kind of one of those things where it's interesting to see other teams figuring bits out. But when we return to a circuit like this, where other teams that started off with good form, they continue to have good form, like Valkyrie, like Kova. It's not really much of a surprise to see those two running 1 and 2 at the moment. It's just whether it stays like that, because right now, Valkyrie are basically affording the entire train a lovely opportunity just to save fuel.
Punching the hole in the air and towing everyone behind them. Do love the new Kova paint scheme that we have on the 777. New team logo. It always means new team paints as well. And you know me, I'm a sucker for a pretty car. Really do like the way that the new logo is embossed in this car around the machine as well. And that's where the beauty of the iRacing spec map system comes into play, because when I first saw this car, I only got to saw the regular paint for it, which you don't really get the indication for how it looks after you apply that spec map layer to it, because it looks great. There's some matte elements there, all sorts of things intermingling with one another. We've got a pretty good looking grid amongst the 15 cars here.
Absolutely, although I will say one thing is they need to pick the different base livery, because with the black number it's not aligned to the number board. But we'll gloss over. I'll allow it. I'll give them it. It's fine. No, we do have a good looking grid, of course. Fantastic liveries. I will say I do really like that Valkyrie that's running around in first place. Again, the spec map just kind of having the blue, almost blue chrome element on it. Then you've got the matte black with the orange stripe over the top. It looks, in my opinion, great. I wouldn't say, and this is not typically something, I would say on broadcast anyway, but we don't have an ugly car on the grid, I don't think. Not one, which is a surprise in sim racing. No, that's true. It's very easy to make a bad looking paint scheme. Just ask me and anything I've designed. I've made some honkers in my time, my goodness me. I know you do like a good old asymmetric livery, so that's why you like the Valkyrie. Of course, I got in trouble with the driver early doors, I should say commentator early doors at the first race of the campaign back in
January. Crazy to think how 2021 has flown on by when we were at the high banks, where I said that the BS competition livery might be my favorite livery, not just in sim racing, but in all of racing as well. I stand by that comment, even though I prefer the BS Turner color. So, of course, you've got the yellow on one side and then the blue on the other. But hard-charging Zebra, always a good-looking car. Are we seeing a bit of a breakaway starting to form? Urano 6/10 off the back of Daniel Lafuente, with R8G and Valentin Mandanak a further 6/10 back. Don't think we're going to see them pull away just yet, though.
I will say, a bit of a switch of positions a bit further down between the two R8G cars. Violante and Veyron had switched positions, but Veyron is under an awful lot of pressure from Martinez behind in the Arnage competition car, and you can really see that there. Looking down the inside, going into the Sachs curve, and there is contact. All straight off the road. Elliot Veyron's the first casualty of the day. And
I tell you what, it's a good thing we've got race control, because they're going to be right on that. They've had a pretty easy day so far, let's be honest. It's time for them to earn some of their money right now. So it was a late lunge to the inside. You can make it work. It is slightly cambered in. Oh, that I don't even know. That looks a bit more like a racing incident, to be completely honest.
I mean, read into that what you will. I think there might have been a bit of air. But either way, Antunes fired that in towards the apex of the Sachs curve. Did not drop off the white line on the inside, though. Held his line all the way around. I think that would probably be classified as a racing incident. Just very unfortunate. Two people racing hard, and then anything beyond that is kind of out of their control. At the front of the field, though, still Valkyrie leading, Antiola closing, but not able to do anything. Oh, there's contact. That was the straight into the back of the Urano Esports, who's got a lot of damage and is going slow.
Yeah, that's Daniel Pastor, who's dropping to the tail end of the field. Which of the R8G cars were it? It would have to have been Valentin Mandanak. Yeah, it has to be that car. Let's go ahead then and dial up what happened there, because hairpin can very much be a choke point. Didn't think it would be that dangerous early on, and we did manage to get about 10 minutes in before our first incident. So it's just, it's that concertina effect, and one hit. Mandanak has to go the long way around down the inside. Andreas Jokensheim takes full advantage.
I don't understand why Daniel Pastor didn't get going again. Yeah, because surely he should just be able to just drive off.
That's a pretty deep send from Mandanak, and I wonder if he's just trying to cover off Julian Kesselhut, who was really close coming into the braking zone and just slightly misjudged what was going on there. Well, so when it rains, it pours. Race control now has two things to take a look at.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, two things in the first few laps of race is not too much of a big deal. I think we've both seen it before, where race control are like, right, here's a list of stuff that's going to take us about half an hour to get through. Fantastic. Because, I've had it before where there was a crash at Turn 1 in a different championship I was commentating on, and it was at Donington Park going through Turn 1, and big crash, and it genuinely took me about half an hour to really pick apart everything that happened. It's just like, my goodness.
Oh, look at that in the background. Who's that going extremely aggressive? Quintin Vialate side by side with Andreas Jokensheim just behind them. Jimmy Antunes and John Vining duking it out into the hairpin. For a moment, I thought I was about to see a car off into the grass.
I think this is the kind of people getting a little bit impatient further down, because, like you're saying, there is a breakaway appearing here. The train is getting away, and whilst everyone is in a nice line of 15 cars, no one's panicking. Everyone's thinking, look, I can still see the leader. It's okay. We're still in this. That's fine. Meanwhile, when that break happens, that's where the issues come in. That's where people get impatient. Let's take a look at that pretty insane dive bomb from Quintin Vialate right down the inside, just super aggressive, trying to make the move.
It was behind. It was Jimmy Antunes who blocked all the way to the grass, forced Vining the long way around. Great view for Ate Kauppanen, who, as Justin Prince coined it, was in the popcorn seat and tried to get the over-under, just wasn't working for him there. You can do that, but you're not going to make any friends with blocks like that.
No. Although, to be fair, I've always said with defending, it doesn't matter how hard you defend as long as the defence is proactive, not reactive. And in that, he'd driven all the way up to the white line and had driven around the corner, around the parabolica like that. And it was up to John Vining to get through and to find a way past. It's basically I'm putting my car here, you go wherever else you want, but this is where my car is, find your way past. And then So it's just how it is. That's kind of, in my opinion, how you should defend if you're going to defend that hard, because at least then there is a lot of predictability. And of course, we did see Quinton Villarte getting past, it wasn't Antunes, it was Andreas Johansson, so getting past as we ride on board with the other Fire Sim Sport car. Lasse Bak, well in contention for this, sat in 5th, and certainly not panicking right now.
And I'll make sure I say it correctly, because I fed Radio Show Limited the wrong information. To be fair, it was pretty early in the morning when I did that, but Danish, not Norwegian. These are Danish drivers all competing for Fire, a brand new outfit that we look forward to seeing more and more from as we head into a new year of iRacing special events, new year of course, BMW competition. Not in a position to lock themselves into the grand showdown. Of course, the top 2 will be the drivers that will lock themselves into BMW Sim Live, which kicks off in just 6 days' time, 2-day affair. One day we'll see Assetto Corsa Competizione and R Factor 2 competition. The next day it'll be all about iRacing and what is going to be a 2-part finale. So keep your eyes out on social media. You'll be able to vote on one of the tracks in competition next Sunday for these drivers. 2-part race as well, which we'll see. One part being competed in the soon-to-be retired BMW M8 GTE. Our final race, though, where the money gets paid out, prizes get handed out, will be in this M4 GT3. So, looking forward to see how Coanda SimSport, who we haven't seen really in this M4 GT3 at all, will adapt to that.
Yeah, that's going to be really... Because obviously Redline we've seen in both the M8 and M4 and winning in both. Commando we've only seen in the M8 GTE, and so that is genuinely going to be very interesting. Typically when we see them racing in GT3 racing, they're normally racing for a different brand. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm interested to see what the car looks like, to be perfectly honest. I know it's going to be a Coanda and an M4, but still, why not? Just keeping our eye on Lasse Bak. Got very, very close going into the hairpin. And by the way, to carry on from your point of Danish, not Norwegian, I nearly made the mistake of calling Liam Lawson Australian.
Oh, no.
Would have got me into a lot of trouble. I was like, no, I think he's Kiwi. I don't think I'd have been able to live past that point, if I'm perfectly honest.
No, I don't.
I do remember once someone called, I won't say who, but it was on a broadcast, called Yuri Kastorp Brazilian, which I thought was very interesting. I was like, slightly other side of the planet, that's fine, go for it.
Where is Kastorp from, just for the viewers?
He's from the Netherlands.
That's a pretty, that's a couple of, yeah, that's a couple of 1,000 miles away.
Yeah, also, yeah, let's be honest, Yuri Kastorp is not exactly the most Brazilian name of all times, but we'll gloss past that as, again, we've got a little... I don't know how long this breakaway is really now. It goes down to the 90, so effectively the top 7. 90, by the way, has had a decent start. A little bit of contact with one of the R8G cars running down into turn 2, but they've been able to sort of clear off and get up onto the back of this train, and so they're well in contention for this right now.
Confirmation from race control. No further action on either of the contacts so far, both with the 11 and 23, which, as Lewis McClay did insinuate, a little bit of air between the two machines. Then between the 91 and the 12, so that would have been the almighty send from Valentin Mandenok in the R8G car. Unsure as to why the 93 car did not get up and rolling. Speculation in the YouTube chat that I did notice that they maybe had a technical failure. The USB might have reseated itself as a result of the contact. So we'll wait and see. Something else I noticed in the YouTube chat, and I'll be honest, I didn't really recognize it, and I don't think it's necessarily true. Someone had Joshua Chin, who's helping with the social media today, the virtual photography for BMW, suggested that the Kova team had put the GTE paint on the GT3. I don't think so. That very much looks like an M4 GT3 car to me.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of a red mark on the nose, which kind of doesn't really add up. But I think it's fine. But I don't know what the livery's supposed to look like, so I'm going to hold fire. The fact that it says Kova on the right places, I don't really know.
Yeah, the other thing is the windshield banner looks pretty okay. Like, yeah, that would be my first indication. When that doesn't line up, then I'd start to wonder. But I do like it. It's very, as it's not my words, it's what Ihu Merakala, who does a lot of the social stuff for Kova, said. Very 100 Thieves-esque, the new logo. Wait to see if they get a little bit more wild with their paint schemes to come. Of course, one of the better looking cars in the grid. Josh Thompson, who has jumped into our chat as well, will be campaigning in the Williams Esports Razor car, sharing with Alessandro Bico. Already got a bit of the Fire Sim Sport paint on the rear end of their car. Maybe he'll be able to catch back up and resume the fight. And of course, that's because Lasse Back left the Williams Esports team to go and race with the Fire Sim Sport guys.
I did once commentate on actually racing a championship. We were racing on oval races, and I did convince someone to, any time they made contact with someone, the next race they would put a little bit of their paint on that car. It was very colourful by the end of the season. We'll go with that. It was oval racing. It's fine. But no, I mean, look, there is always going to be a little bit, particularly front to rear damage, contact around here, just because of the concertina effect into the hairpin. It's going to happen. It's almost impossible to avoid. We've already seen it a few times this race, and it doesn't surprise me at all that there's been the odd little bump between them, because at the moment no one really wants to pass. I'm pretty sure that a few cars could have passed if they'd have actually wanted to, but they're all just happy to sit here for all the reasons that we were saying about back in Season 1 and throughout the entirety of Season 2, is that we see a lot of these trains because people are fuel saving like crazy. Saying that, though, there is the dive to the inside from Lasse Back, so he is going to pick up the position on Bico, but once again, as we saw on lap 1, drive out of the hairpin, just not good enough on the inside.
Will get the sweeping momentum through 7 into the arena section. A little bit wide for Alessandro Bico. Does it open the door for Back to go the long way around? Still side by side as they work their way down in through turn 9 and 10. Bico's going to lose one. Will he lose another to his teammate? It's Daniel Lafuente in the Williams Esports Chill Blast car who has to back out of it. Open the door for Julian Kesselit to throw it on the inside of Mobile 1, and the big red machine up into 6th position.
Yeah, it's kind of where, to be honest, it's not really too wise to remain side by side for a few corners. You kind of want to back out and just drop straight back in line, especially considering there is only 2 positions in this race that, respectfully speaking, we actually, and the drivers, would care about. It's 1st and 2nd. No other position in this race realistically matters. It's just those 2 positions that go through into BMW Sim Live. So if you're going to battle it out, if you're going to go side by side and allow the top 3 to clear off, you're asking for trouble. I think they're still well within reach. But what they've done is they've slowed the train down enough that the 2 R8G cars have now rejoined the back of it, and they've dragged Fira with them. So it's 10 cars in the lead train now, when it was 7 a few laps ago, which I'm fine with, but I don't think the drivers would be.
I think Lasse Back has done his fuel saving and now feels like he can go a bit more helter-skelter and work his way up towards the front. I do know what you mean in terms of dragging the slowing yourself down and dragging the R8G cars in, but what's the saying usually? 2nd is the first of the losers. In this case, it's 3rd. That's the first of the losers.
I mean, still don't want to finish 2nd. You want to win, don't you? But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, to be perfectly honest, from this race, the difference between 1st and 2nd is almost meaningless. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to give you a better advantage in BMW Sim Live. You don't get. There's no prize money up for grabs or anything. It's just the 1st and 2nd place, and those are the transfers. That's just it. It's as simple as that. So yeah, if there is a race that you really, really don't want to finish 3rd, it would be this one, because I'm pretty sure that would be painful. I don't know about you. I get a vibe that it's going to be, at least at the moment, it's going to be someone's going to finish 3rd by really not very much.
I'm starting to wonder if there's an incident limit today.
Oh, that is a great question. It does say it is an incident is 25, but it says that it's I believe it's a drive-through on 25.
Well,
not a deep.
Yeah, no, that's better. I saw Gianni Vecchio had popped into our stream chat earlier, and I distinctly remember, was it Suzuka earlier this year when?
Yeah, with Verstappen.
Yeah, Verstappen did the first stint of the race, and in an hour accumulated 24 incidents and left poor Gianni with 1 incident to go for an hour. And of course,
and spoon.
Yeah, that ended the way you'd expect.
Yep, just went slightly too wide at the spoon, got a 1x, and the car disappeared from existence, unfortunately. No, I believe it is 25x, 25 instant points, and then it is a penalty. Whether that's a drive-through or stop, I think it's just a drive-through. Either way, to be perfectly honest, if you hit that point and you get a drive-through,
day's
done anyway. You're not going to finish second on that.
Might as well park the car at that point, if we're being honest. But this is a track where you can accumulate them. I've noticed, for example, working into the stadium section, for example, a couple of cars really going out wide and right on board with Lasse back here. You'll see he's maximizing the entry into Mobile 1. He has caught up onto the back of Phil Denez in the BS. But watch there. Look how wide they're all getting and kicking up some gravel as well.
It's if you really kind of dip the left-hand side wheels into the gravel, it'll ping you. It's very easy to do, though, around here. Like you say, you're running in a little bit too hot. And those 25 instant points, they've got to take you through the entirety of the race. Here's another place where you can kind of pick one up, although if you go that wide, then you're in trouble. Again, here, if you're running out and really touching that gravel trap, you're going to get one. Turn 1 is probably one of the easiest places to get one, even though you've got a lot of runoff you can use. That is just, as far as I'm aware, is just about legal. It's when you kind of get onto the tarmac, just past it, that's when you get one. For a lot of the other part of the racetrack, there's not really too many opportunities to pick them up. It's more so, though, obviously, contact, any heavy contact, that's 4x. You know, that's losing an awful lot of your instant points, so you've got to be very, very careful. We'll remind everyone, though, that if they do make contact, if they do get a little bit of damage, it's not awful because they do have a fast repair which they can apply in the pit stop, which they'll be doing. There's no pit window, though. They can just pit whenever they wish. We just know it arrives in the middle part of the race because a stint in this car is around about an hour.
You want to be able to go to the end without needing more fuel. So expect around an hour the pit stop window to open, and if you're anyone behind Kenny Rusin and Valkyrie Esports, you can go further. I wonder how big a hole in the air that BMW M4 is punching right now. And of course, yesterday a bit of a sad day in BMW Motorsports, but when one door closes, another opens, of course, and two cars effectively being retired in North American competition at the 2021 Motul Petit Le Mans. The M6 GT3, which we never got here on iRacing, but it's still an interesting car that Turner Motorsports, Taco Turner, have been campaigning in what was an almighty crash on a restart. And it's hard to believe I'm saying those words, almighty crash, and on the restart, down into the chicane. About 7 different GT cars got mixed up. And for poor Bill Oberlin, a legend in sports car racing and indeed in BMW competition as well, nothing he could do. And the M6 GT3 unfortunately retired very, very disappointingly. Not the finish that they would have wanted. And for the M8 GTE, which of course is still campaigning in Europe, but still questions to be seen about what's in store for that car and that outfit in Europe, did finish on the podium, but only one of the cars made it to the end in the GTLM class, the 25. It's a bit of contact, bumping and banging. It's Alessandro Bico returning the favor and now putting some of that Williams paint onto the Fire Sim Sport car for the M8 GTE. One podium, one car retiring the 25 early in the race. And the reason I said that is, like I said, when one door closes, another opens. For BMW, they have officially confirmed they have partnered with Rahal Lederman Lanigan, not just to run a GTD Pro entry from 2022 onwards with this BMW M4 GT3, but we got our first renders of what the LMD8 car is going to look like, which Rahal Lederman Lanigan will also operate in full IMSA competition when that goes racing in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the future of all of these manufacturing stuff, we always speculate. We always like to see what's going to be happening next. It's always sad to see some cars retiring, especially when one of them's the big boy that I know has been memed to death. I know they love that meme, absolutely love it. But, it is what it is. Times change, things move on, need to get some new cars in, and obviously the M4 being the future of GT3 racing for BMW, I'll take it.
Have you seen the renders of that new LMDH car?
No, I have not.
I would suggest you go and take a look at it, because if you thought the memes were funny for the M8 GTE, I'm already seeing or looking forward, I should say, to seeing the memes about this one, because they have kind of lent in to some of the memes. And of course, it's just a render, so it's not by any means a confirmation of what the final car is going to look like. Is that going to be a switch between R8G? Quintin Violate almost runs into Daniel Lafuente, but does get the position on Valentin Mandanark. I wonder if there's maybe some team orders going on there. Maybe Violate, the faster of the two cars here, knows that he has to try and get a move on now as we come to almost the halfway marker in our first stint. Look at him, really on the rear now of Daniel Lafuente.
That was a little bit sketchy, and it was quite close. I mean, that'll help just off the rear end of this train, Andre Jochensen, who's just not quite got the pace to keep to the rear of the R8Gs at the rear of this train. So not ideal for one of the Fira cars. That one's nicely up the order in 4th spot, but that was close to definitely something which race control would have had to have taken a look at. Thankfully, we did manage to get away with it, and all is well and good. Just nearly half an hour done in this race, so we are approaching the pit stops at the halfway point, and say it's still Valkyrie leading. Concerns over their fuel consumption, though, at the moment. They've obviously not been able to pull a gap of the chasing pack. You can see still quite a lot of cars in this train. Just down the order in 11th spot, PRT Ronin Simsport. They've dropped off, but they are kind of starting to close back in, dragging Williams Esports BenQ with them, Arnage Competition, and to be honest, the Urano Esports HKM car that was punted into the hairpin quite a while ago in this race. They're still less than 10 seconds off of the reader, and to be fair, all of our cars are within 12 seconds, so that's not too bad after half an hour's racing. Yeah,
no, it's still pretty close, and given the margins that we saw in qualifying, I think that was to be expected. As Daniel Lafuente this time almost runs into the back of the big red machine. Julian Kesselhut behind the wheel for number 90 BS competition car. Here's a look at your weather conditions, and because it's, well, we're racing in quite late in the year, and that's the great thing about iRacing, is you can choose which month of the year you want to race in. So 26 degrees in the air, 28 down on the track itself as we approach 2 p.m. in the virtual Hockenheim ring. Look at that wind, though. That's the thing that's really striking out to me. 25 kilometers an hour wind, and yes, these cars are pretty heavy and hefty, but even that level of wind is going to shake things up, especially if you get it into somewhere like turn 1 and you get a small change, small difference in the gusts of wind. You do have to be careful about how wide you're going with those track limits.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things of, I mean, if you've ever had it where you've jumped into a car and you've driven around and then you've gone, I mean, I'm talking in sim racing and motorsport, I guess, you can count that one as well, with wind change and stuff. You go down into a corner and then the rear end steps out and you think, that never happened before. Yeah, the wind probably changed. It's how it goes. If the wind, changes speed, you're talking high winds. It's pretty quick. It's not insanely fast, but it is quick enough to make a difference. And going through turn 1, if the wind's blowing in the wrong direction, it can just push the rear end in an uncomfortable way, and that's what might unseat the rear of the car from the racetrack. You have to be careful, but you have to be aware of it, and it's where you really have to have a feel for what's going on and being able to adjust. As Williams Esports Chill Blast and BS Competition 90 switch positions again. There was a switch round and then a switch back, I believe, because I'm pretty sure that BS Competition car had been ahead recently, but yeah, the switch. Now it's
there was a bump.
6.
I heard the bump. So I heard the crunch of race cars, that's for sure. We'll go ahead and take a look at what happened there. Also, confirmation of the mistake from Iku Marikala. That is indeed the M8 livery on the M4 GT3 today. I'm not gonna let him live that one down. Here's a look though into the hairpin. So Lafuente is gonna try and look to the inside potentially. Oh no, it's just because there's a checkup and he's got nowhere to go. And I think Kesselhut actually hit the rear end of Alessandro Bico there. Yeah, there was certainly he was certainly offline, and that's what afforded Lafuente the opportunity to get down the inside. We'll take a look on board with Kesselhut to kind of see if there was contact on the rear end. I mean, if there wasn't, it was very, very close, and he was clearly overcooking the corner, and that's what allowed the position switch to happen. So it was just a mistake from BS Competition. I'm starting to get a bit scared at that hairpin every single time we go through. These cars are being very cautious and single file for the most part, but it's just such a checkup, right? It's the heaviest braking spot on the track. You go from, it's a long run out of turn 2 and 3 in towards the Parabolica and the hairpin. Are we calling the Parabolica a corner? Are we really doing that?
I mean, it's named a corner, but I wouldn't number it, if you know what I mean. It's just like the name of it. It's the same way you name a straight. It's like, yeah, that's the name. I wouldn't number it, but let's be honest, let's not get into the corner number debacle that we've had a few times, and because we almost instantly will go on to Road America and then we'll get in trouble.
Oh, we'll talk about Red Bull Ring. Kesselhoek was side by side with Lafuente through the hairpin, almost opened the door for Violate in towards the arena section. Once again, bit of a gap forming up, and as Josh Thompson has pointed out in the YouTube chat, all of these car contacts into the hairpin. What were we talking about? Incident limits just a bit earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to be careful, especially considering we are in the we've just finished the first quarter of this race, meaning we've still got a very, very long way to go to decide the top two. You can't be pushing the limits right now. You kind of need to save them up, right? Think of it this way. If you get into the final 20 minutes of the race, you're chasing someone down and you've got 10 instant points left to go. It means you can run wide at turn 1 a couple of times and start risking it.
You mean like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll never forget. It was 2014. Anyone who watched V8 Supercars back in the day, it was Scott McLaughlin versus Jamie Whincup, and it was coming down in race 2 at Adelaide, coming down through the first chicane, and I remember them shouting, being like, "Skip the chicane, skip the chicane, just go over," because he'd saved them up through the race. He still didn't get one, mind, but the point was that he'd saved them up through the race. So if it was needed to, you can go straight over and just be like, right, there we go. That's mine ticked off. It's not ideal, but that's racing.
There's a bit more bumper cars. I'm not trying to say that this is the intention, but imagine if you get other cars in front of you disqualified by virtue of just bumping them over and over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it's not what the system's designed for, but I'm sure it is something that has been thought of. I mean, the issue is, obviously, when everyone's concertinaing up and getting closer and closer, the chance of getting a 4X for car contact goes absolutely sky high. And I think that's why, if we look at the train now, look at how much more spread out it is now, right? Where, if you were to go on YouTube and then go back 10, 15 minutes, they were all, at this point, so much closer, whereas now they've all kind of gone, all right, I'm getting a little bit close to this limit now. Let me just back off and, stop risking it so much. It's nervy times in the teams. If you're already picking up, 10, 12, 15 instant points right now, you're in trouble, genuine trouble.
One of my favorite sayings ever, and it's totally not related to what we're talking about. You said risk it, and it just popped into my mind. You've got to risk it for the biscuit, and I think that's what you do need.
Chocolate biscuit as well.
Ooh, I like that chocolate. Now we're going to get into a classic iRacing forum debate about whether oatmeal was it oatmeal cookie? I forget what it was. Is oatmeal raisin an actual cookie? I think that's the debate.
Oh, I have no idea. Should we put pineapple on pizza? I thought that was normal one.
No, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Are we not?
No, because the answer is no.
God, you should see the pizza that I had yesterday.
Oh, no.
Day before yesterday.
Lewis.
No, I just asked you. We had pizzas, and she asked, like, what do you want on it? And I just said everything, and so put everything on it. One of those things was pineapple, which I wasn't quite ready for. I'll say that. I was like, right, damn. I'm 50-50, I don't really care. Either way, Valkyrie Esports League, we'll move off that topic as swiftly as we jumped onto it. So still only a couple of attempts.
And just a reminder, this is our Season 2 invitational round, so cars that finish 2nd through 5th, or the 4 cars after the leaders that hadn't qualified for BMW Sim Live, invited for one final chance to lock themselves into the Grand Showdown that will kick off in 6 days' time. Of course, 20 drivers have golden tickets, 4 yet to be handed out. Top 2 will advance. No cash on the line. $4,200 was paid out in each of the regular season races. Did mean a total of just about $33,000 has already been paid out into the pockets of the drivers. And if last year was more bumping in the background, I have no doubt we're going to see a drive-through penalty before the end of this race now.
I doubt it as well. Like, I mean, we're going to get, like, no one's getting through this. Well, say no one. we're not getting through this cleanly. Someone is getting a drive-through shortly. I think people are getting close to a drive-through even before the handover, which is so unbelievably not ideal.
No.
All it means is that your driver that's about to hop in, they're sat there thinking, like, obviously we've got Josh Thompson, who's been watching on and keeping an eye. Obviously he knows how many instant points he got. He knows exactly how many mistakes he can make before the end of the race, and those will be coming down to single digits very, very shortly.
It's not just mistakes, right? Just based on what we're seeing so far. It's how many times going to be run up the rear.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that car is now at 16.
Yeah.
And again, that's just from contacts. That doesn't take into account running wide through the final corner, running wide through turn number 1, etc., etc., etc. Nervy moment unless you're either of the top 2 cars, because Kenny Rusin for Valkyrie and Kova Antiohola look clean as a whistle so far. And to be fair, same for Phil Denez from what I've seen in the number 89 car.
I think I'd be shocked if those two, at least from what we've seen, rather those 3, I'd be shocked if their number was in double digits at the moment. I think they are actually doing absolutely fine. I mean, Kenny Rusin, I'd almost be surprised if it was more than 1 right now, because has been driving absolutely perfectly at the moment as we're riding on board with Lasse back. This is a car that certainly has got a couple racked up after a few bits of contact between themselves and Alessandro Bico, as once again the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars all just line up through the hairpin this time. A little bit of space left between them, so everything's calm for now, but you can see in your timesheets just 1 second effectively separates the top 4. It is so close, and I said before the train had started to open up a little bit. Everyone had started giving themselves a bit more room. We're going the opposite way again as we're coming down to the pit stop window, and I think some drivers are going to... This is the point of the race where we've seen a few times, back at Monza, etc. This is the point of the race where it starts to fire up as people start to desperately get on with it before we get into the pit lane.
Yeah, it's about trying to get some track position for your teammate to work from. So Lasse back is right on the back of... Phil Denez. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading the YouTube chat right now where Josh Thompson says it might even be more than 16x right now.
My goodness.
Poor guy is all I can say. Hopefully he won't be bossed around too much here. I should say bossed around too much. And you were talking about Kenny Rusin. He's been like a metronome, a machine. Just, I wouldn't be surprised if he's been doing some fuel saving as well out front and just really controlling the pace of this race so far. Because we started at 1:37.605. That's the fastest lap of the race. Last time around was a 38.844. I don't think that's going to be down to tyres.
No, it's not. It's not a particularly high tyre wear circuit around here. So for Kenny Rees, like I say, I think he's just sat there. He knows that Antiohola is a quality driver. He knows that Kova are a quality driver. They know how, quality team. They know how to win, and so he's worked out over the first 10 minutes of the race that, right, Antiohola's not going to attack you, so just do what you're doing and just carry on. We see that all getting close. By the way, just in the background, Daniel Pastor has just made an almighty send. I was just watching that. That got all the way down the inside of Arnaud's competition. Jimmy Antunes went straight onto the hairpin and then lost the position almost immediately, which is very typical of the hairpin.
Well, for Pastor, I'm sure he's not thrilled anyway with how his race is going. But let's see what happened there, because now you've got my interest peaked as to what happened for Daniel Pastor. Of course, that's the Urano Esports HKM High King Media. Of course, there's a G in there, which is crucial, as John Heindorf pointed out, because otherwise it'd be a very different type of media. Oh, that's a lunge.
It's a bit of a send.
As someone on Twitter coined yesterday, the post office will be out of stamps.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's not how you want to make a move. We'll go with that at least on that one. But what it does, it just delays those two from rejoining the train. You just saw them there off the back end, not a part of the train. The train at the moment does go down to 12th place. You've got Valkyrie Esports in there, of course, Kova, BS Competition, Fira are in 4th with the 2 Williams Esports cars behind. You've got another BS Competition in there, 2 R8Gs, another Fira, PRT Ronin Simsport and Williams Esports Ben Q. All 12 cars separated by 5 seconds, all in this train. And by that move from Daniel Pastor, it just delays them from just getting back onto this train. And that
Oh, here comes the move. Lasse back to the inside. Dinez almost gets forced off the road. And Antioholo spun around. Chaos at the hairpin. The Razor car is mixed up in it. And I tell you what, Lasse back should expect some sort of note from race control. Still side by side with Daniel Lafuente. It's allowed Phil Dinez to actually break away from the cars back behind him. Daniel Lafuente will take third position. Almighty chaos in through the hairpin.
Kova's day's done. Kova's day is completely done. Right rear is basically what will be his nearest makes no difference, hanging off that M4. He'll be able to get it into the pit lane. We'll be able to repair it with the fast repair. But pitting at this point, that's it. It is cleared off the road. It was an ambitious move from Lasse back, which we're going to see once again here. It's easy to do, though. Just keep your eye on him. He just gets to the inside, gets alongside, and just clears the Kova off the road. He didn't miss the apex or anything. It's just racing and racing hard at that point. I'd say he is definitely going to get called in by race control. And unfortunately for Kova, they have to foot the bill.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I'm a big fan of Back, but Back is back into the chaos, and well, Antioholo gets 1, 2, maybe even 3 hits there. We'll try and get another look at it from a slightly wider camera angle, specifically focused on the dive that initially came forth from the number 6 Fire Sim Sport machine. Here it comes. Dinez tries to cover him off and then thinks better of it, and whoa, yeah. And I wonder how much damage there is now as well on the Williams Esports Razor car.
Yeah, there's a few bits of damage being handed out, and Williams Esports Razor are also into the pit lane through all of that. So for Kova Williams Esports Razor, I mean, again, I don't really want to just be unbelievably pessimistic, but unfortunately at the moment for them, realistically speaking, it is day done, considering we're only really focused on who's going to finish first and second in this race. And right now, that has swung very much in favour of Valkyrie Esports and BS Competition, who, let's be honest, we know that Phil Dinez is a very wise driver. He knows what's at stake in this race. I would kind of be hoping, if I was watching Phil Dinez, if I was Phil Dinez's teammate, I'd be saying, look, catch to the back of Kenny Roosen and don't fight him. The train's behind. The train's behind by 2 seconds. Don't fight. Let that gap get even bigger. Mate, bump draft him after. Yeah, maybe not that. Don't go that far, but still, assist him more so than the train behind.
Absolutely, and his teammate is Nathan Lewis, who we have seen some good pace from, but I'm thinking back, of course, to Imola, where I think Dinez should have won that race, if not for the moment in traffic that they had coming down. Was it into the Variante Alta? I think it was. The penultimate, the final chicane on the track.
I couldn't remember if it was there. I thought they had a bit of an issue into Piratella, which was just before Aqua Minerale, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember. That was months ago, unfortunately.
It was back in August.
Too much.
Yes, no, it was back in August. Incredibly long season 2. It was a long wait. We had 3 races in August, then had to wait till October, in the later stages of October, for the penultimate round of the championship. Yeah, day done. Day done for Valtteri Alander now, who's jumped into that car. That's a weird place to have an off.
Yeah, I mean, especially from Valtteri Alander, that would have been a solo car issue. They would have repaired the car. You're going to have to take a look at it as well. You mean man. Let's take a look as to see. He was already backwards coming into it. Is this just going to be cold tyres?
Well, I want to see on board with him and see if there's anything with the steering that indicates something's amiss. It looks... They do have a fast repair, of course, so... Okay, is this just Valtteri making a mistake? Because now I do feel bad. Oh, clips the inside curb, almost bottoms out the car, and well, that's not what we've come to expect from Mr. Alander, the 2021 ISO WC champion, but doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's just out there now to circulate and to hope that there's almighty chaos in front of him, because they're 1 lap down. That they're not winning this race. They're not even coming in second in this race.
Yeah, no, unfortunately for Kova, yeah, like you say, basically, day done. Which is a shame, because we were kind of hoping to see maybe 2 Kovas in the season finale at BMW Sim Live, our overall finale. But unfortunately, it does seem as though we are just going to get the single, oh well, rather 2 drivers from Kova in there rather than 4 drivers. It's a shame, but I mean, still, they've at least got a couple of drivers in that. So yeah, fair enough. It does mean, though, that every team that joins them now is a team that we definitely don't have in BMW Sim Live, because Kova were the only team that already had a couple of drivers in it.
True. True. Now, it does look as though for Valkyrie and a bit more... I was going to say chaos, but it's not that bad, actually. It's just some passing action. Oh, there's the carnage. Bit of bumping and banging between Valentin Mandenark and Julian Kesselhood as they work their way through Turn 7 and into the arena section. Mandenark's down the inside, long way around for the big red machine, but of course gives him the inside as they work their way out of that complex back onto what used to be one of the straights. Mandenark holds on to that position for now. Been an interesting one in the last 15 minutes as we enter the pit stop window. 10 minutes to go until that one and only stop, the one and only driver change that we'll see today. Let's wait and see what happens here. Good point. Kova is out of the mix of having two cars. I think we're not looking at any team having two cars from this final going straight on through. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think for Lasse Pack and Fire Simsport, they're going to be out of the equation very shortly as well, as soon as Race Control decides what they want to hand down. Yeah, like I say, they are taking a look at it, and they'll be dishing that one out fairly shortly. They'll take as much of a look at it in as much detail as possible, but for Lasse Back, yeah, I kind of get the feeling that Fire might be removed, which then means that the closest team to getting two cars in is R8G, very swiftly followed by BS Competition, because R8G are running in 5th and 6th place, and BS Competition are in 7th. Obviously, they've got one car up the order as well, and I wouldn't necessarily rule any of these cars out just yet, but do keep your eye on the gap between Phil Denez in the BS Competition 89 car and Daniel Lafuente in the 150 Williams Esports Chill Blast, because the gap's getting slightly bigger. It went up by about 2/10 of a second over the last couple of laps, which doesn't sound like much, but again, it's just it's positivity for the top two and a bit of negativity for everyone behind. If you're joining us now on RaceSpotTV on YouTube, thanks for coming and joining us. There seems to have been a bit of a technical issue with the BMW Esports Twitch that hopefully will get resolved in time for BMW Sim Live. 6 days from now, the two-part affair kicks off. As mentioned before, day number 1, it's all about Assetto Corsa Competizione and R-Factor 2. And 7 days from now, the iRacing Grand Showdown, where 24 of the best on iRacing will go wheel-to-wheel across 2 different races. Race 1 will be voted in by you, the fans, on BMW's Twitter, so do follow BMW Esports on the Twitter machine to get involved. The vote will go open tomorrow, November 15th. You can make sure that you decide what sort of chaos we'll see. Maybe you don't want chaos, maybe you want to see something different. I know where we're going for race number 2 is. Again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm going to refrain, but Green Hell, Bathurst, of course we've got to get those in the vote for race 1, Lewis, just so we can decide between you and me which one's better. But if we got 4 choices, where else do you want? Road Atlanta, maybe we throw that in? Ooh, see, now you're throwing me under the bus, because I like to, again, you know me, I like to just throw in some massive challenges or just some curveballs. Right, Atlanta, fair enough. You know, I mean, hey, maybe throw in a bit of a curveball in there, someone like Mid-Ohio. I don't race there for ages, so throw that in there, have a bit of fun. And then just a street circuit, because, you know, I like chaos. I like that. I like that. Long Beach or Belle Isle? I was having this debate a couple of days ago. Long Beach. I prefer Long Beach. Although, yeah, I mean, I really do like Belle Isle, actually. I think Belle Isle has better racing opportunities to get past, because they run down into turn 3. Yes, and as we saw this year, I mean, what a race that was in the NTT IndyCar Series when they went racing at Belle Isle. Really, really fun stuff. Of course, you got the multiple tire compounds and whatnot that came into affair for poor, was it Will Power, whose engine decided to have no power? Oh, I don't remember. All I can remember from the Belle Isle weekend was Felix Rosenqvist. Oh, yeah, that was an almighty shunt. Yeah, that is literally, I'm like, the only thing I really can remember from that, because that was horrible. I've not seen a crash like that in all my years of watching motorsport. By the way, that gap between PS Competition and Williams has just grown and grown and grown. They are flying away. Oh, there's a bit of a move. And that's Lasse back, who's gone and passed by Quintin Violate. That's an important move for the young Frenchman in the number 15, which interestingly is numbered the number 18. No confusion there whatsoever. Of course, still waiting to see what the penalty might be for Lasse back, but he's fighting this one back. Violate should have it done, though, down the inside. And confirmation. I think Race Control might have gotten this a bit wrong in our
sheet, yes, because yes, no,
yeah,
I think potentially.
Okay,
I'm looking at being like, huh?
Yeah, no, they have it listed as the Kova car.
The Kova car that's got a penalty,
yeah,
which is not true.
No, there's no way. There is no way the Kova car gets a penalty for that.
No, it does say in the explanation that the 777 car comes from way too far back, which obviously is the incorrect car. It would be the number 6 that comes from way too far back. I think that's just the mix-up on that one. But I do believe then, based on that, it is a 10-second post-race penalty. I don't really want to speak on behalf of Race Control because that is really unfair, because they might have seen something that we haven't. But based on the explanation there, I think it's just a mix-up of car number. It would be the penalty of 10 seconds post-race to Lasse back.
If you don't want to speak on behalf of Race Control, I'm happy to.
Go for it. But, I mean, I've almost kind of said it, but no, you fire away.
No. I think I think you're right. Unless they're living in the multiverse.
Which is fair enough. We're approaching that point.
We are apparently in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Have you seen Eternals?
No, I haven't actually.
Stay away. Watch it at home. Now, did you watch Shang-Chi?
No.
Okay, if you can.
I'm terrible.
If you can go and see that one in theaters, I would highly recommend that one. The only last time I went to go to the cinema, I went to go and watch G. That was also great.
That was excellent.
You know what? There's this program at the local theater that I go to where you pay $9.99 a month and you get a free movie every month, which is not bad given that a ticket is a minimum of $13 a pop. So because of what happened with the last year and things going a bit up in the air, I had about 7 credits left to use because I had been a bit more careful than some other people. So I've just gone crazy the last couple of months. I've gone and seen all sorts of movies that I wouldn't even have gone and seen. Free Guy, highly recommend.
But see, I watched it at home because it's on various streaming platforms.
When did it come up on various streaming platforms for you?
Literally like 3 weeks ago, because I remember seeing it on there. I was like, that is not possible. That is the same film. And I clicked, no, it is. I'm like, oh Jesus. I felt like I was pirating it, but no.
I know. That's what I thought.
It's on completely legitimate. I'm a good boy. I promise.
Apparently.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not on track. I'm terrible. I'm in danger. I'm a hazard.
I heard you wheeled a car pretty good last week or this week. Which was it?
What is this when I was this when I won a championship?
Yeah, you posted something on the socials.
We won a teams championship.
Oh yeah, so you had to do it with the help of your teammate.
Yeah, well he did. he's battling for the drivers' championship, and I'm definitely not. Well, no, I'm still in contention, but he's battling for it, and I'm definitely not. And then I got punted off by Oscar Hardwick, which is a name that I think some people might know. That was good fun.
I want to make a pun, but I'm going to refrain.
We'll be careful.
Well, as well, if Paul Smith is watching, he's going to ring me up as well and really have some issues with me. He still, I don't think, has forgiven me for my Brian Loins pun, which I think...
I see.
Yes, you can see where that's going.
Yeah. No, I think you told me about this one on the on ProSim.
Oh, I must have. Yeah, no, but that was right there. I mean,
you sounded genuinely proud of yourself.
Well, the thing I was most proud of is Paul Smith is known for having commentators that like to throw in a good pun, Peter Mackay and Chaz Draycott, and since I was filling in on very short notice, I had to.
You've got to do. Yeah, no, I can appreciate a pun. I do laugh at them, but I'm not swift enough. As I said before, I'm not swift enough with the intellect to come up with such excellent puns.
Well, yeah. So 3 minutes ago, 3.5 till the top of the hour. It's calmed down since the smorgasbord of action into the hairpin last time, and as I say that, Kesselhut back down the inside. This time it's on Valentin Mandenach, almost gets the elbows out on the exit. Mandenok's getting the tow from Violate as they work into the right-hand sweeper, almost leaning on one another. Again, long way around can work for the big red machine, but late on the brakes is Mandenok on the inside line. Just get the elbows out, forces Kessel at wide. Still side by side as they work their way down into the arena. Good racing. Mandenok holds on. I think a couple more incident points accumulated there.
Yeah, I do believe so. And you've also got Lasse back now on the rear end of this. I do believe... I know that the big red machine, the BS Competition 90, did make contact with one of the RHG cars. I never really worked out which one it was on the first lap down into turn 2. I do believe it was Valentin Mandenak going through, because they did start on the same row, so it kind of would make more sense for them to have made contact going down to turn 2. There was a little bit, it was more side to side, it wasn't anything major, but it was like the first sort of semi-major bit of contact in the race. So to see them racing cleanly is at least somewhat good to see. Their chances, though, of coming second in this race are drifting very, very far away, as the top 2 are clearing off from anyone, showing how much of an impressive run this is from Kenny Roosen, who is just assisting Phil Denez to pull out a pretty enormous gap to third place, which is Williams Esports Chill Blast, which is getting bigger and bigger. And then getting bigger and bigger as well is the gap from Lafuente down to Quinton Violate. That is now around 2 seconds. So these two are very much in a class of their own, which, when the only thing that really matters in this race is finishing first and second, I'm starting to feel a bit more relaxed if I'm one of those two, and a bit more concerned if I'm anyone else.
Yeah, no, and these two have really picked up the pace. We were talking, 38.8 for Kenny Roosen about 20 minutes ago, down to a 38.2, with Phil Denez almost at a 38 flat in comparison. We really have ratcheted up the tempo as we work our way into the pit stop window. Hypothetically, you could come down onto the lane this time around. We'll wait and see if that's what we see from Kenny Roosen.
I think they've got to go laps longer.
At least one. Yeah. That's what I think as well, but you could hypothetically... No. Oh, no, I was right. Kenny Roosen's down onto pit road. He'll be handing over to Simeon Lynch a bit earlier than we expected. But remember, Lewis, it is 30 seconds minimum in the stop itself, in the box. Then you add in the pit lane time, you're looking at another 30 seconds. That gets them to the hour mark.
Yeah, it's potentially like you'd want to go a lap longer just to make sure if the race goes an extra lap that then you're covered off from that. Obviously, other drivers into the pit lane, Elliot Veyron into the pits, Antunes into the pits, Joachimsen also into the pit lane. The other cars all staying out. So the 10 cars that we've got left in the race that haven't stopped, running obviously first through 10th. Now they've all passed the FIRA Arnage competition, RHG Esports 8, which is the 11. Very confusing. And the Cobra 777. Williams Esports Razor, unfortunately for Alessandro Bico, they did pull the plug on the race, as that was a little bit deep from the 90. That was getting a bit concerning, and a little bit of a wiggle in the braking zone.
It's like PTSD now. We just see a car going deep into the hairpin and we assume almighty chaos.
I am always panicked. The thing is when you're driving, going into the hairpin, you're constantly checking your mirrors. You're like, right, what's happening behind me? Who's diving, because you're ready for someone to do an ill-advised enormous send down the inside, as they're out of the pit lane is the Valtteri Esports car of Simeon Lynch.
And that's Daniel Pastor, I think, retiring from the race. So it might be two who have called it quits. Of course, first it was Alessandro Bico and Josh Thompson in the Williams Esports Razor car. They got a meatball flag, which is the iRacing stewards basically saying, you better come down, you've got too much damage. As Denez still rolling around on track, impressive fuel saving, kind of what I expected from him. Daniel Lafuente leads the rest of the train of cars down. I think everyone else is down onto pit lane this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised by how much fuel saving the BS competition car has been able to do there. They were just sat behind for the entirety of that stint, and I think you're absolutely right. They've just managed to save all of that fuel as we ride aboard with Simeon Lynch. I mean, they'll be sat there thinking, can we get a tip from BS competition, please? I don't mean that as a bit of information. I mean that as a financial transaction for helping them out by going greener in this race and saving more fuel than everyone else.
Maybe the roles will be reversed, because, of course, pit stop times are going to be equal because you're limited more by the driver change. Although, having said that, There's some interesting things that went on with the cars that came down last time around. Simeon Lynch 41 seconds stationary, which indicates at most 2 tires, maybe even no tires. Lasse Sorensen in Fire SimSport Yellow number 8 car did the same. Everyone else 56 seconds stationary, indicates to me 4 tires being taken. PRT Ronin SimSport have cycled up the field as a result of a shorter stop. They're running now in net 3rd position. So 3 cars have elected to go with the slightly shorter pit stop time.
Goodness.
You'll see that on the left-hand side of your screen now.
And Phil Denez, by the way.
Still out there.
Still out.
Wow.
That's going to be a short stop.
Well, again, limited by the driver change.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually impressed that they've been able to... I don't know if I'm that surprised, because they were sat in the slipstream for the entire run and they made no attempt of move. The issue is if they take 4 tyres, they're still going to lose a fair amount of time in the pit lane. They still might come up behind. So I wonder if they'll risk taking 4 tyres. You have to say surely not.
No, you can't take 4 tires. You cannot take 4 tires if you're Denez and Nathan Lewis.
Surely not. Yeah.
Wow. So we've got some interesting things going on now. I would argue it's going to be less chaotic than the first stint, because if you're any of the cars that took tires, 4 tires, that would be Dominic Stabe and the Williams Esports Chill Blast number 150 down, you can't afford to be fighting even if things look close between you. You've got to get the hurry on and really close the gap, because it's 7 seconds between Valkyrie and PRT Ronin. It's then about 3 seconds further back to Fire the number 8 machine, and then 6 back to Dominic Stabe. So Stabe is almost 20 seconds behind Valkyrie, who are sitting pretty with a transfer spot.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you're absolutely right. If you are anyone on 4 tyres right now, you've got to just be making the most of these tyres whilst they're fresh, whilst they're good. We'll see Phil Denez now finally come into the pit lane, genuinely 4 or 5 minutes after everyone else, which is just very impressive. As he'll bring it down into pit lane, Nathan Lewis will take over the number 89, and they will return to the racetrack. But in what position? Will they still be behind Valkyrie? Will they be ahead? Will they be behind PRT Ronin SimSport? That I actually kind of doubt. I think they might just come out in the lead, if I'm honest. If I was a betting man.
I actually didn't note the gap before Denez rolled onto pit lane, so I'm not a very good commentator.
A minute 3, I think.
Ooh. I think they'll be 2 seconds back. Once
2 seconds back.
Well, once you cycle in, or factor in the slowing of pit lane, the slowing on the entry, it's a 1 minute 4 in the lane itself. That's basically top to bottom with the 3 cars that didn't take the 4 tires.
Right.
Yeah, I think he'll be 2 seconds back.
2 seconds. Final offer. Fine, I'll go with, I think they'll be side by side, and I think then the BS competition will back out and sit in second. Ding.
We'll see who's going to be right. What's on the line? It's going to be a minimum of 2 seconds, I think. Minimum.
Minimum of 2 seconds.
Because
I think you're right, actually, because he's just going through turn 1, and still Nathan Lewis is stationary.
Is Lewis taking tires?
Oh, it got to. That is still stationary.
He's going to be behind PRT Ronin.
Whoa, okay. The greatest number in all of sim racing and motorsport is gone up into second position. That is not good for Nathan Lewis. Got to remember with the Fire car, we do believe that that is the car that has...
That's not the one. That's the other one.
Oh, it's the 6, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, the 6. Yeah, no, the 6 is the one that's got the penalty. The 8's the one that's sitting good. Okay. I don't agree with this call, given the track temperatures. But it does mean this next hour is going to be more exciting than it would have been if we didn't have this going on.
Well, yeah, we could have just been done with the day, to be perfectly honest. Might as well just have pulled the race if what we were saying was going to happen. But no, absolutely not. I mean, look, Nathan Lewis is pretty quick, and he doesn't have to win this race. Again, let's just clarify that. They don't need to win the race. They just need to catch the 3-4 seconds it is to PRT Ronin SimSport and get by them. Get by Lasse Sorensen as well, who's obviously directly ahead of them. And then eventually pass the PRT Ronin SimSport car. Still, though, I just don't get the risk.
It's a risk as well, right? Because let's say you make some contact coming into one of these corners. could go badly.
So you can't get past.
I don't want to even think about that, because I want to believe that tires are valuable, but we'll wait and see, because already haranguing the rear end is Nathan Lewis of Lasse Sorensen. It's 3 seconds further up the road to the PRT Ronin car.
Yeah, it's not panic stations right now.
It's as close as you can get.
It's slightly less comfortable than it could have been, I think, is the best way of putting it. Because, of course, we know that there are differing strategies, and that the 89 should, theoretically on pace, be able to clear Lasse Sorensen fairly swiftly here. But how much of a fight does Lasse Sorensen put up? I think the answer to that question is not really very much at the moment. And you kind of have to say, why would he? There's no bonus for third. Kind of would more want to get to allow, as we'll see the inside move there from Lewis. He's wide. He's going to be wide. He's going to run in a little bit too deep. Get a nice straight exit, fair enough. Lasse Sorensen's a big man. He's been racing in sim racing for at least 10 years. He will sit on the rear end of Nathan Lewis, potentially dropping off the back and hoping, to be honest, for his sake, that Nathan Lewis makes contact a bit further up the road with Delye, and then potentially get through into second place and sneak one through.
I tell you what, now we get to see, A, how quickly does Lewis close, but B, how does Sorensen actually close and stay on the back, right, of Nathan Lewis. Sorensen, by the way, I forgot how long he had been sim racing. He is also the founder of Fire SimSport. He is the 2014 French Formula 4 champion with 8 wins on the way to that title. Has got some pretty impressive real-world credentials to his names, including sim racing stuff as well now. And crazy to think, still only 26 years of age. And not even 26 technically, he'll be 26 in a couple of weeks' time.
He was winning championships and stuff when I joined sim racing back in 2013. When he was driving for Precision Motorsport, or whatever they were called back then. I think it was Precision, which is the team that Brunner House went on to go and win 5 Formula Sim Racing World Championships with, which was a very, very big team. Lots of names that might be recognised even in sim racing today. Of course, Brunner House, Jeffrey Rietveld, who races for Redline. You had Jack Keithley in there, who races for Williams. They were all a part of the Precision stable. Fantastic group of drivers. Some people were not so great, but we won't go into too much. But it was Lasse Sorensen, Alex Lauritsen, and Simon Kielov. That were all, Alex Lauritsen in that team as well. Obviously, they were all teammates.
Wow.
Back in the day in Precision. So that was a very long time ago, though.
Yeah, no, it's how the times have changed here in sim racing. Last time around, by the way, 4 tenths quicker Nathan Lewis compared to the leader, almost 7 tenths quicker than the PRT Ronin SimSport car.
Yeah, which doesn't shock.
It doesn't shock, and so I can now get a bit of an indication as to why they did the 4 tires. I still think that's a lot of risk.
A lot of unnecessary risk. I think the chances of them winning this race, they're not done, but the chances of them winning this race are now fairly unlikely. But again, as we've crossed over before, winning and second place doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's just getting into the top 2. That's the only thing that matters. As we've now got Phil Dinez, by the way, in chat, so we can question as to
why he woke up. Yeah, why he woke up.
Why he woke up at this time in the morning.
At this ungodly hour and then decided to do the first stint of the race. I still don't get it. I would think maybe because Nathan Lewis lives on the East Coast. Surely, I mean, maybe Phil is just a machine and Terminator AI.
Generous.
Or, he could be very generous and allow Mr. Lewis to get his beauty sleep in. I did notice, by the way, as did someone else in the chat, the second BS competition car has gone around at the hairpin.
Oh, no.
And now is stranded. And I guess at this point in the race might as well get the tow back to pit lane. Day done for Rainer Talvar in the big red machine. Florian Labigra had also rolled his way onto pit road a couple of laps ago. Not sure exactly what happened to the R8G car, but clearly not the best of circumstances. So into the hairpin, what's going to happen here? He's behind Fire SimSport, lunges to the inside.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That was less than pretty.
Optimistic?
Very. Which was the RHE cars was that he made contact with?
Probably Gustavo Ariel behind the wheel of the number 11.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily... Oh, no, actually, it was Julian Sonnen in the number 15 or 18, depending on which one you want to pick. That's not annoying, is it?
Not at all, not at all.
Regardless, it was a bit too much of a send from the big red machine. That's what we can work out in all of that.
Oof, yeah. No, that you expect,
it's not pretty.
Yeah, you expect chaos at the hairpin. I'm not saying you don't, but there's been a bit more than maybe I had bargained for today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just where everyone's sat in the slipstream and everyone's sitting very, very close indeed. Right, let's see if we're going to get a switch here. As we'll see, the Fire Sim Racing red car, Mikkel Gard behind the wheel, and now down the inside of Julian Sonnen as well. So 2 laps in a row has lost a position. That one was slightly less contact down at the hairpin. So, yeah, each to what it is.
And Mikkel Gard basically did a Tony Hawk move on the anti-cut curb there to get himself onto the power and through into what is now 6th position. Of course, a 10-second penalty now confirmed for Mikkel Gard in that number 6 car. So very much just fighting for pride right now to see what he can get. Meanwhile, in the fight for what matters, the top 2 positions, Nathan Lewis closing on the PRT Ronin SimSport car. We've seen some great drives over 2021 from Ronin SimSport, now partnered up with the Peru Racing Team, an outfit that campaigns TCR machines in the real world. I believe it's Rodrigo Fluker who drives not just for Ronin but for PRT as well. Great to have more real-world associations in sim racing. Of course, we have that with BS Plus and Turner Motorsports as well. I don't think this is going to be a battle long in life.
No, I don't believe so, which would then settle who's going through, because I think with the exception of mistakes and drive-throughs potentially, but we think the Valkyrie Esports have been driving absolutely perfect, at least from what we've seen, and they continue to lead with Simeon Lynch behind the wheel. Nathan Lewis wants... Oh, God, he nearly overcooked that. That scared me. Provided he makes this move nice and clean, gets past the greatest number in all of sim racing and motorsport, the number 78 represent. Provided that move is nice and clean, I think that's it. That's first and second sorted, because the speed of this BS competition car, it should close up to Valkyrie. Whether it gets by or not is kind of irrelevant. I don't think it will get there and pass, but I think they've got more than enough speed to just pull away and obliterate the gap from PRT Ronin SimSport. So in that sense, first and second would be sorted. But still, it's still a race. You know, you're still racing for at least for pride and honour. So you don't want to finish 9th. You want to finish 8th at least.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note as well that 3 seconds back to Lasse Sorensen. So Sorensen unable to follow in the tire tracks of the BS competition car, is now working their way across the start-finish line in towards turn number 1. Surely if he can get the power down out of turn 2 and build that run, use the draft through the parabolica into the hairpin, it should be 2nd position to Dinez and to Nathan Lewis. It should be 2 tickets to BMW Sim Live. Here we go. On the power, rolling themselves down this long straightaway. If you're Ronin SimSport, you do have to fight this one.
You've got to. Surely you've got to. He's not going to, though, which is just baffling to me. He's committed on the brakes. He's going straight on. See you, mate.
Oh, bye-bye. Yeah, no, he tried. He tried.
But he didn't defend.
Well, I'd almost argue you don't want to be on the inside.
Yeah, but that way you can elbow them. You can race them hard.
But
I think
if you're on the outside, you can go a bit deeper under the brakes. You can also get the power down a little bit more aggressively and get the momentum. Doesn't necessarily help you into the arena where we've seen that turn 8, you can be on the outside line and still get the move done. But, yeah, I don't think you want to be on the inside because you can get pinched. There's all sorts of things that can happen there, and it really restricts your defense.
But I think at least it's doing something rather than just going, here, have the inside of the track and I'll go straight on, thanks.
I think you defend the inside if you're Jimmy Antunes, like we saw in the Arnage car earlier.
I think you got to do it a little bit. I still would.
Well, never trust the commentator's math. Do you want to trust the commentator's driving advice?
Yeah, fair enough.
Press X for doubt.
You know, we'll move on from that. That's fine. That's fine.
Well, it does mean now we're in for a pretty sedate 40 minutes to close off our BMW SIM GT Cup campaign for 2021.
Speculate.
Well, no, what I'm trying to do is put the commentator's curse down here.
Oh, I see. You're trying to create drama.
I'm trying to incite some chaos.
I was going to make a joke about yesterday, but no. I'll back off from now.
You didn't want me on that because who knows how much worse it could have gone.
Well, I mean, I'll take most of the blame on that because I only sat down for like 40 minutes and 20 minutes on both times. And yeah, well, we're not going to it. It's fine.
Yeah, no. Poor Lewis, sitting at a desk for about 3 hours, got to talk about 20 minutes and shout about cars for 20 minutes.
I did get to take the mick out of all of the drivers and their setups, though, so that was fun. Which is kind of funny again in the sense of if you were to compare it to my setup, so yeah, fair enough. Mine's just a wheel clamped to a desk.
Oh, we need to get you set up with proper hardware.
Do we?
Well, I don't even race anymore, and I've got a full rig.
I don't really race anymore either, so it's almost completely pointless.
Exactly, but I still got it if I ever want to do some laps.
Yeah, I think you raced in the Nürburgring 24.
I did. Was
that the last race you actually did?
No, it's not.
You've raced since.
I've done one race since then.
Oh, nice.
It was
that?
It was a NASCAR Cup Series race at the Charlotte Roval, live on RaceSpotTV.
Did you do well?
Well, I finished, what was it, top 5, I think?
Oh, that's decent. Yeah.
Yes, given that I qualified like out of the top 10, and I was 3 wide at one point in time. It was great. It was one of the best, most entertaining races I've ever done, and I got the pleasure of being interrupted, and I say interrupted, probably shouldn't say that because I invited myself into the RaceSpotTV commentary booth almost, by Evan Pasoko. I didn't get to hear the side-by-side shout, unfortunately. Because I was too busy trying to keep the car on the track itself. But I forgot how fun it is to wrangle a car like that around a track like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've raced the Cup Series cars a few times. I did the Daytona Roval at the start of the year.
Yeah, but Daytona Roval's just not that good.
No, it's not. But still, driving the car is fairly entertaining. Unfortunately, in that race that I did, one Mr. Casey Kerwin did appear.
Yes.
So everyone essentially finished last. That was great. Was quite a bit faster than everyone else. But, you know, it's what it is. You take the wins with the losses. I think I finished like 6th or something like that day.
So you were 5th in the actual race?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
It's basically cheating having one of those drivers come along because they're a little bit quick.
It's just how you look at it and how you tell the story, again.
Yeah. It's also really depressing to see any driver, regardless of ability, just slam a car around a circuit on a fixed setup much quicker than he is. Oh, for goodness sake. How's that possible?
That's the worst part about it, I think, sometimes, is you know that it's a fixed setup and you're just like, there's no way. There's no way I can do that. Yeah.
It is what can be classified as less than ideal or suboptimal, but regardless, it was entertaining to drive, and that's how you have to think about it.
Yeah. I'm just.
Sorry, we need to team up one day and do one of those endurances.
We do. Maybe. Well, the problem is we're commentating usually on if it's an endurance race. Yeah. Daytona. It's coming up soon.
It is coming up soon, which we will have to commentate on.
Well, hopefully there's no rain delay this time.
Yeah, we won't go into that too. Oh my god, could you imagine racing in it and having the rain delay and having to commentate?
Oh, can you imagine the scrambling of the schedulers to try to make sure it still works out? I tell you what, though, I'm going to go back to my comment as... Ooh, the headlights are on now. I'm going to go back to my comment a bit earlier. Daytona is one of the worst endurance races. Okay, no, not the worst endurance races, because I think it's a fantastic race. It's one of the least exciting tracks, though. It's only special for one race every year.
Yeah. I mean, I just let me do my little Name drop. Before we were doing the Daytona race back in January or whenever it was, and obviously part of the team that was in it, Jensen Button joined, and we had a chat, and he described his opinion on the Daytona road course, which I won't say on air, but it wasn't good. It wasn't a positive.
It's because
idea.
you can't use those words live on air.
Certainly cannot. My goodness me, they were not. He was not kind to not only the circuit but the surrounding area.
Ooh,
Which I won't go into too
now
much.
that is interesting.
Bam, 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 bam. No, I'm fine. No, it was the track. He was saying it's bumpy. It's just.
Well, hey, bumps are good.
It depends what you're in.
I guess that's true, but Sebring's got bumps. We love Sebring.
Sebring's excellent, but it's kind of I can't really describe it. There's a difference between the bumps of Daytona and the bumps of Sebring. The bumps of Daytona are just awkward and annoying. The bumps of Sebring are part of its character. You get what I mean?
No, I do. As Dominic Stabe gets past Lasse Sorensen, this is academic, really. I mean, they're so far behind. 5 seconds back from Nathan Lewis, it really doesn't matter. I mean, that's putting it mildly. It might as well just be, it is just for pride. Do note as well, though, that Stabe is on in full fresh tires compared to Lasse Sorensen, slightly shorter stop, so difference there. Button's not a fan. I wonder who else is not a fan.
I'm pretty sure you could add a lot of drivers to the list who would not be a fan of Daytona too much. Again, I don't think anyone doubts.
It's a great race.
The Daytona 24 is a fantastic race for a whole lot of reasons. For mostly, I think, for us as motorsport fans and stuff, it's sort of like whilst there are a couple of races before, Dubai 24 and things like that, but there is something about the Daytona 24 which is almost like, to me at least, it's the signal that this is it. The motorsport season officially begins, right? And it's always it's kind of tradition that and at least Dubai, those two are like the main ones that's like, right, let's get this underway. That, and also the race is normally pretty good around there at Daytona. It's always entertaining to watch, but the track's less. I mean, to be fair, I really don't like Rovals at all.
Yes.
There is not a single Roval that I can actually think of that I go, oh, I'd love to drive that. I'm like, oh God, no thanks.
I was about to say something, and then I realized I don't know if it's public information yet, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, no, we'll roll off.
Yeah, but I know I know someone who's going to be racing at Dubai next year in a BMW M4 GT3.
Yes. No,
you do as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I was doing a quick Google. It's not officially announced, so I think I'll refrain from getting myself.
We won't. What we'll do is we'll tease everyone.
Yes, exactly.
By saying that someone will be racing in the Dubai 24, which does not narrow it down very much.
It doesn't, but I think the point there is, yes, the M4 has had a couple of showings here and there, mainly in Europe so far. It's going to get a run out at the 24 hours of Sebring that Creventing is putting on in 7 days' time as well. But that car is going to get a trial by fire. It's going to start at Dubai, and then it's going to carry on when Turner Motorsports debuts their M4 GT3 car at the Daytona 24. Of course, Ray Hall, and Lanigan will have one in the GTD Pro class as well. We'll get to see how this thing shakes up over 24 hours, how it handles the bumps as well.
And again, get to see more liveries and stuff on it in the real life, and see if I don't know how much I could throw it under the bus. Again, the grill, still not a fan.
Oh, you're not going to get invited back by BMW.
Yeah, no, I think I'm about to get fired. I'm not a fan. I'll just. But what some of the teams and stuff on the sim racing side have done around that grill have actually made it be like, oh, no, I'm all right with it now. Like there are if you've got arrows pointing towards it, you've made a white front of the car. You're like, oh God, no, maybe not. But if you design your livery kind of around that and use it and kind of almost point away from it, it's fine. I think the rest of the car looks fantastic. It's just not the grille.
I still think the GT3 makes it look better than the road car does.
So, yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I know because I've seen a few of those M4s.
Yeah, I've got one that's now parked in my neighborhood, and I see it every day. And yeah, no, I'm not thrilled about that. Because every time I go walk my dog, I basically see it. So 3 times a day, I'm subjected to that front grille. Have you seen, what's that car called? It's the BMW electric car. Not the i3, not the i8 either. The my memory is blanking right now.
I mean, I've seen a surprisingly large amount of i8s.
The i8 is great. The i8 is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm more. I mean, my went to.
I think it's
driving to Silverstone.
I think it's called the iX.
I drove past 2 of them, and I was like, I think the i8 looks fine. They were like, no, it looks too much like an electric car. And I was like, well, yeah, but it is an electric car. I was like, yeah, but it's like making it obvious. And I was like, I kind of get what you mean, but it looks good.
So go and check out the iX.
Oh no, am I going to get fired?
No. Oh well, that depends on your words. Because I've been doing some searching of electric cars recently.
That is big.
Yeah. If you thought the grill couldn't get any bigger,
that is what the cool kids would classify as chonky.
Did you go and look at the LMDH renders?
No, I didn't. I couldn't find one. You got to send me one.
You're joking.
No, I mean, well, no, I probably did, but I probably just glossed past it.
Let me go and try and find one. If I had
it's that one. My goodness.
Yes, that one. It's not hard to find. As now, look at this between R8G and Fire Sim Sport. Of course, academic, because Mikel Gard does have a 10-second penalty, but we know Julian Sonnen, he's going to want to get this thing done on track. Yes, that LMDH, it's just a render. We should make this clear. There is no way that car looks like that at the end of the day, because otherwise the front wheels are going to be ginormous. I
mean, that is taking in a lot of air.
Maximum cooling.
I mean, there is that, at least. Yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, I like the rest of it. There's a bit too much grill on that one.
I hope that Dallara and BMW can work together to get this thing on the service as soon as possible.
Oh, 100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. If there is one thing that I am really looking forward to is this, LMDH and etc. The future of this style of racing in general is just, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Are you more excited? Okay, if you had to pick one, LMDH or LMH, which one are you more excited about? And to be specific, the level of competition that we're going to see in each of them, not combined, but if you had to separate them.
Ooh.
Because I think LMDH has got some really interesting manufacturers, but LMH, I'm still just in awe of some of the designs that we've seen there.
Yeah, I'm genuinely, I'd be hard pressed to pick. I would probably more lean towards LMDH, but still.
Sorry, for a second, the PRT Ronin car disappeared from timing. Looks okay. I got scared that we got a DQ or something there for a moment. Flashbacks to what we've seen. Also, confirmation, by the way, from the PRT cars. There was a bit of touching between BS Competition and Ronin Sim Sport.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's now just a meme that we're going to see because of obviously what happened. Was it Friday? It was Friday in Formula One.
Oh, right, yes. No, I see going up and touching everyone's rear wing. So, yeah,
well, did you hear what Sebastian Vettel said in his car?
Yes, I did actually.
Yeah, that was great. After the sprint
race, it'll be slightly less expensive.
And it was also great what Lewis Hamilton's engineer reminded, or was it him or Bottas? One of the two reminded him after the sprint race was over. Don't go and touch the cars.
Right. I think everyone's going to make a bit of a joke of that now, aren't they?
Yeah, you got to. Although I do appreciate why the message had to be sent, because it had been getting a bit crazy with how much touching was going on. No touching, though, between Dominic Stabe as he looks to the inside of the PRT Ronin SimSport car, and, well, easy as you like, up into third spot now. 4 seconds back from Nathan Lewis. He does have 30 minutes on the clock. Don't think it's going to work out for him.
No, because I think Nathan Lewis has been driving around well within the reaches of the car. I understand that there's no real benefit in catching the Valkyrie eSports car.
Valtteri?
That's Valtteri, yes. No, I'm too stuck on the Formula One stuff now.
I thought you were going to say you thought Valtteri Orlando was in that car.
No. The Valkyrie car that's leading doesn't need to pass it, so it'll just sit there. The moment that Williams Esports Chill Blast car starts to catch, though, you'll start to see that BS competition set some better times. Still might get a bit close towards the end of the race, but remember, we're focused on first and second. Either way, backwards from that, I mean, you still want to finish third, still on the podium at least. So Williams Esports Chill Blast there. For PRT Ronin Simmersport, they're going to be under a fair amount of pressure, probably not in the not too distant future, from Lasse Sorensen, who is closing in roughly 3-4 tenths a lap. At the moment, it's 4 tenths over the previous lap, so that gap will disappear. So we still at least get some moves on the race circuit.
Fingers crossed. Has been a great drive from Simeon Lynch, and his teammate Kenny Rusens did hand over the lead of the race during the pit stop cycle as the BS Competition 89 went a bit longer, about 4 laps longer than anyone expected. But they've kept that gap pretty constant. It is 6.5 seconds with 27 minutes to go. Can they close off this BMW SIM GT Cup with a win? Will they lock themselves into the grand showdown? 6 days from now, BMW Sim Live will be happening on BMW Esports Twitch. Well, hopefully, we should be back in action by the time that we go live. Otherwise, it'll be a bit awkward, to say the very least. Of course, announced a couple of days ago as well, it will be Matthew Trevette, also known by his moniker Sadicus, that will be hosting the entire 2-day affair, hopefully live from the BMW Welt in Munich. Myself and Lewis McClade covering all 3 sims. Assetto Corsa Competizione, R-Factor 2 and iRacing.
Have you commentated on R-Factor 2?
I haven't commentated on anything that's not an iRacing race before.
I didn't think so. Oof.
I'm lucky.
Take you into the world of the unknown, mate.
I know, you'll be my first.
Ah.
I am looking forward to it, though. I'm really looking forward, though, to... I'm not really looking forward to R-Factor, to be completely honest. More because of the M2.
I mean, yes, no, that is a solid meme in itself. But I will say, from anyone looking forward to that, to talk of the M2 very quickly and talk more of the competition, because you've got drivers like Erhan Yovski in there as well as his teammate Risto Kaba from RHG, so we're going to see those. You've also got a Czech team in the form of Varga Sim Racing with a few of their drivers. You might have seen them racing in some Williams recently, etc. And to be fair, Mikkel Smedel, who's raced for Redline a fair few times, they've been going toe-to-toe with Erhan Yovski over a few races. That actually, I think, will be very exciting. And they have come together more than once this season, so that will be a fiery duel of fisticuffs, I'm sure.
No, yeah, and I did appreciate, by the way, I was looking through some of the documentation that was sent over to drivers. The number 13 for the R-Factor 2 portion of BMW Sim Live was excluded from driver number selection to avoid any potential risk of causing superstition-based anxiety. So the numbers for that race are going to range from 14 to 25. The Assetto Corsa Competizione portion of the broadcast is the first time that we'll see BMW action wheel to wheel, because I believe it was a time attack to get the drivers qualified. Pretty interesting list there. It includes Attila Dench for BS Competition. I'm really looking forward to Niels Naujoks.
Yeah.
Because I haven't gotten to commentate on him before.
I mean, the G2 esports cars, obviously, with their partnership with BMW, similar to the partnership that we've seen from BS Competition, from Williams as well as Redline. The BMW Team G2 esports cars, they always race in that BMW. On ACC, for anyone who doesn't know, it is the M6, so we get to see that in action. And to be fair, that will be dicey. All of these drivers that are on this, they've all raced with each other in varying competitions, just not in this competition. So that's where things become a bit more interesting. It's one race. It's get out there and race once, twice, whatever it is, and just go toe to toe in this one little event, rather than over a season where you can adjust and come back next week and think of a different thing that you can bring, either through your own driving or through setup and whatnot. It's very interesting. It's going to be an intense couple of days of racing, I have no doubt.
And now I'm trying to remember what all is for voting. If I recall correctly, I voted for the BMW Sim GT Cup the M2 CS Racing Cup in particular. Voting closes today, so I don't know if that vote is still open, but twitter.com/BMW Esports to make yourself heard. Tomorrow the voting opens for the BMW SIM GT Cup portion, which will be 7 days from now on the Sunday. It's a 2-day affair, as mentioned before. Don't recall if for Assetto Corsa Competizione there will be a vote or not, but they've got a pretty interesting schedule. And of course, all of the SRO affiliated tracks up in action there. I'm just so excited. I am so excited. Yeah. They had what all surprises are we in store, whichever one it is, this time around? Because last year, of course, we got the Fanatec BMW M4 podium steering wheel announced. We had trophies. What else? What more can BMW have for us here?
I'm like I say, I'm still excited, more so from the racing, as the two Fire cars are going to switch over positions here, as Lasse Sorensen's under a fair amount of pressure from Mikael Gaard, so the switch between the teammates, and you've got to watch out for the R8G Sports 15-18, whatever you want to give it, Julian Sonnen, who's also there in our Nage competition, going side to side with Williams Esports BenQ behind. I'm excited as that is a proper send from Sonnen down the inside in the arena section. That was a brilliant move. Nicely timed to get past Lasse Sorensen, who drops 2 positions in 3 corners. Not ideal, but I'm excited for the announcements. I'm just more excited. I always am for the on-track wheel-to-wheel action we're getting across the 3 simulators. To be honest, looking towards how things are going to be here on iRacing, when we've got 8 Redline drivers, 8 Coanda drivers, various from other teams. It's going to be
a drama,
I think. Well, anytime we see Redline versus Coanda, it's something which means something. Regardless of the level of competition, that is value just purely in the battle itself. Regardless of the prize money that's on offer, it's pride between 2 of the biggest teams in the entire world of sim racing as an esports. And I think it's going to be dramatic. It's kind of looking at it, you're thinking, there can't not be drama here.
Yes, and something else that I would just like to say, Coanda is 2 for 2 in BMW Sim Live right now. It was Mitchell de Jong in 2019, if I remember correctly. Beneke did stand on the podium alongside him in second, and then I believe it was Lauren Heinrich for when he was then driving for Williams Esports. That was in third. Of course, Heinrich now for BS Competition. Last year it was Josh Rogers who made a fantastic 3-wide move down through Vale at Silverstone, the final chicane, to take advantage and slip past both Max Beneke and Graham Carroll to take the win. Will Coanda make it 3 of 3? Oh, Redline fight on back. Also, confirmation, by the way, the vote is closed for the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup portion of our Sim Live action in a couple of days' time. Do you want to guess where we're racing, Lewis?
I wouldn't even want to begin guessing.
It's a certain track that's potentially undergoing some renovations to a very famous corner.
Oh, no. Well, at least we don't have to race it with those. I did see a photograph at Spa. I did see a photograph of that. Whew.
Yeah, that's
I get it.
That's interesting. We'll see if that's actually real, because I heard conflicting information. And yes, to confirm, it is Spa-Francorchamps where we'll be racing those M2 CS Cups. So, draft. That's the name of the game.
At least they won't be hopping. For anyone who knows, when that M2 was brand new, it did like to hop around a little bit.
Do a bit of pogo.
It was amusing. Uncomfortable to drive, though. The Force Feedback did not enjoy that. I mean, Spa's obviously it's a classic track, but in those is going to be very, very tough indeed. Also, from memory, well, actually, no, definitely so. They would have had precedent of racing there earlier on in the season when there were support races, as PRT Ronin Simsport had gone straight on, by the way, and allowed the Fire Simsport red car of Mikael Gaard to pass, and they jumped back down into 5th position now. But they've got precedent of racing Spa. I think it is actually twice, because we did race it in the first season of the year. And I'm pretty sure they raced it in the second season of the year as well, if memory serves, when it was support to the R Factor 2 GT Pro Series. So there is precedent around that circuit, and the competitors know who's strong and who's not there, which I think adds an extra level of interest and intrigue when racing around a circuit that has knowledge like that.
Well, I guess we'll get to go watch and see what happened there. Watch that dive from Julian Sullen, though. No prisoners taken there. Licked the stamp and sent it on the PRT Ronin car that, of course, has some pretty worn boots. Interesting to see the comparison between Ronin, Fira, the two other cars that took no or less tires. We're still not sure if it was no tires or 2 tires, compared to Simeon Lynch, who is still hanging on pretty well in terms of lap time.
I'm just like, this is an unbelievably impressive stint from both of the Valkyrie esports drivers. Said, you know, Kenny Reason had like a fairly tough start to the race, in a sense of had all the work to do to keep calm and, you know, keep focused. And I think he'll be thankful that a driver of the quality of Antti Ahola was sat behind him, because understood what was at stake with that position, and so, you know, allowed Kenny Reason to do what he was doing, save the fuel a little bit and get pushing, and then and most importantly, look after the tyres, not drive off the racing line when everyone else was fighting quite hard behind. I mean, I think they've not been gifted the victory, but I think it would be a lot closer if BS Competition didn't take multiple tyres on the pitch and have a longer stop. But regardless, you know, those are ifs and buts. The only thing that we have is pure fact that this car has been flying, and of all of the cars that had the shorter pit stops, where we assumed 2 tyres were taken, they have been, by a very, very long way, the fastest of that entire group.
Gap is still 4 and a bit seconds, so it was, what, 4.5 at the 30-minute to go marker?
I think they're good for this.
Yeah, I think that illustrates just how good they've been today, and how interesting it's going to be seeing them mix it up with the red lines, the Coandas. It was red line Coanda domination in season 1. Red line had 4 drivers go through directly. Coanda had 4 go through initially, and then got 4 more in through the finale, so they brought their total up to 8, which is incredible given the level of competition that we saw in those M8 GTEs. To kick off the second portion of the year and this run out in the M4, it was Kova first at Imola. It was Tuomas Tattila along with, I'm trying to remember his teammate, I'm blanking right now. Tuomas Tattila and Pekka Toivonen.
Pekka Toivonen.
Yeah, one of the most fantastic.
I couldn't remember who was alongside him.
I wanted to say it was the most fabulous beard in all of sim racing, but I didn't want to get it wrong. Pekka Toivonen did join him. MSI, Alejandro Sanchez, dominated the first stint of the race at the Circuit of the Americas, handed over to Christian Lamella, who just carried on the good work for the Spanish outfit. Chris Lullen, Patrick Holtzman, they advanced then in Mount Panorama. Then they failed over the jump. So, you know, if you ask me, maybe we should have rescinded their tickets for that.
Yeah.
But you got to
see that clip.
Yeah, you've got to do the jump, if we're being honest. And then Diogo Pinto, Luke Bennett. That was most recently, and that was an interesting race that we saw to close off the regular portion of the season at the Temple of Speed. Monza always just seems to put on a show.
Yeah, always. It's not the most interesting to drive, but it's always a fantastic racetrack. By the way, I was just going to say about the you've got to do the Bathurst jump as the 777 returns to pit lane. They kind of needed to for extra fuel because they were taken out around this point in the race.
I think they're retiring because
I think they are. I mean, to be fair, I don't blame them.
Oh no, they're back out. They came down in the cycle, just so you know. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I saw Orlando on pit road for a second time earlier today.
Fair.
So yeah, no, that's a bit weird, but we'll try and get confirmation as to what happened there. Going back to what we were talking about with Monza or Daytona?
Monza.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Daytona was a great race, don't get me wrong, but there was just a vibe and the drama that we had around Monza. And, you know,
well, no, I mean in terms of driving.
Monza.
Yeah, I think it's easy.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't. That's really hard. I don't hate driving Monza. There we go. We'll just tick that one off. Read into that what you will. I will say, by the way, about this gap, because we were. I'm going to eat my words that I said not that long ago. I don't think it will come down enough. yada, yada, yada. I just checked as to what the gap was half an hour to go. It was 7 seconds.
Whoa, okay.
So BS competition is closing in... I think Nathan Lewis might actually win this race. Fair enough. Might have to eat our words on that one.
Yeah.
So then the question and the concern, as that is a bit wide,
yeah, that's a bit
goes
bit wonky
to Dominic Steib in the Williams Esports car as to whether that car will catch. By the numbers that I'm seeing, the answer to that question is no, not yet.
He'd need a second a lap, basically, which he's not.
He needs to go a bit faster.
He's not far off. Let's be completely honest. He's what, 6/10 last time around.
Yes, it was a 38.4 from Williams Esports Chill Blast, and it was a 39.0 from Valkyrie Esports. So if you're Simeon Lynch, to be honest, if Nathan Lewis catches you, don't fight him.
Let him go.
You almost let him go and then sit behind him, because if he might be able to pull you along just a little bit to gather a little bit more time, which would help. But also, you can't waste any time right now.
I don't even think he's going to be able to follow. I think the gulf in tires now is that significant.
Quite large.
Yeah, I think this is... It's going to be more interesting than I thought an hour ago. Or I should say about 50 minutes ago when we came into this pit stop cycle and the gaps really did blow on up. For Dominic Steib, the question now becomes how close to a drive-through is he? Because he wasn't involved in the ping-pong as much as Williams Esports Razor was, but he was still part of the kerfuffling.
If we get any information on who's running where when it comes to the instant points, because I'm pretty sure some teams are very, very close to slapping themselves up a drive-through.
This is where it's great that we have live race control.
Exactly.
Because I'm gonna ding them a message
and see what we've got going on.
Yeah,
be very helpful to know. I'll say that. I don't think the teams want anyone else to know though, but we're going to spoil that for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's what we're here to do. Spoil things.
Yeah, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Either way, it's going to be very close. And this was the whole point.
Gap below 6 seconds. Sorry, between the 48 and the 150. Last time around, it was 8/10, 9/10 almost.
You need to save those instant points so that you can exceed, so you can push absolutely as hard as you can. And like I say, if you're Dominic Steib, you want to have saved those up so you can go on the attack right now. As the laps go on, it is becoming more and more concerning. Like you say, 0.8 of a second, Dominic Steib closed on that lap. Oh, if I was Christian Horner's foot, I'd be bouncing up and down like a pogo stick right now.
I've got the Horner foot tap going on right now, but it's a bit of a norm for me when it comes to these close races because I just get anxious watching them, let alone actually racing. Oh, okay. So 11 minutes on the clock with lap times at about 1:39. I think we're looking at 6 or 7 to go.
Yes.
And
not necessarily sure. It's going to be close.
So let's talk about the incident counts right now. Do you want to know?
I'd love to know.
Valkyrie is on 21.
Oh, okay. That's behind than I thought they'd be. Fair enough.
And that's one 4x away, so one car contact, significant car contact away from a drive-through. BS 89 is on 22.
Right.
So they're in a similar situation.
Yep.
Surprisingly, the car that was involved in the ping pong, only 20.
Either way, we're all still fairly close.
We're fairly close. The closest is, well, I guess COVID doesn't really count, but because, you know, where they are in the race now.
Yeah.
Fire Sim Sport, the number 8 machine, Lasse Sorensen behind the wheel there, 23. So is the PRT Ronin Sim Sport car. And I think I know why. Oh no, the BS competition car anyway would have had to retire given the damage that it had, wouldn't it? But they would have been, they're the only car that's gone beyond the 25 incident limit so far. As Valtteri Alander, did he just put in the fastest lap of the race while I was going and looking?
Yeah, I think he did. He's having a well. Oh, to be fair, they did pit and change tyres and stuff.
Ah, okay. So he's going for the glory. It's a 37.145. But let's give him his credit. That's pretty quick.
It's only 2 seconds past that race leader. That's fine. I mean, he might be able to catch him back up, as Ricardo Ferreira, by the way, has got past Agustin Canapino in the Arnage competition car against Williams Esports Ben Q. So Agustin Canapino drops down a position. Another one of our drivers who has a large amount of experience in sim racing.
And a large fan base as well.
And a large bit of experience as well in real life. I do remember I watched a crash from one of his, I can't remember in which series it was, one of the, obviously the Argentinian competitions, going down to a hairpin and basically the brakes failed. I have not been more terrified watching a crash in quite a while than watching that.
Well, that's the second time you said that today, Lewis.
Well, this was 2013,
oh,
so
okay.
this was a few years ago.
Oh, wow, okay.
But, you know, it's fine. I'm
Yeah.
just terrified. I'm constantly terrified. I'm just always more terrified than the most recent thing in memory.
Well, I think the thing to remember is, despite the fact that we, safety has come a long, long way.
Yeah.
A long, long way from, even the days when people lost their life tragically here at Hockenheim. Crashes are still scary, and you never want to see a car with a big incident. You never want to see that. And even recently in ADAC GT Masters, there was a driver who broke his back, if I recall correctly.
I mean, it's a dangerous sport. It always is. That's why sim racing is like the perfect counter to it sometimes. You know, if you're wanting to just race without the danger, I mean, do sim racing because it's... There is, you can still... break a thumb.
Yeah, you can still do that. Ask Craig Williams. How?
Yeah, no, I've seen it. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, poor Craig didn't realize what was going on in the iRacing All-Star Invitational, and yeah, he got collected by Zach Campbell. Also, since we're coming into the closing stages, did want to mention it's championship week here on the iRacing service. 2 World Championship crowns to be handed out first this Wednesday. It's the iRacing Rallycross World Championship presented by Yokohama. Comes down to John Robertson for Subaru Motorsports USA and Joni Ollikainen for Set Esports. In either direction, it will be the first time a team has won 2 championships with a driver. Sammy Matty Trogan won back in 2019 for Set Esports before joining Williams Esports the following year. And of course, even though Robertson is campaigning a Subaru Motorsports USA car, his teammate Johan Hart won the year before, both drivers, of course, for the Apex Racing team, so some history to be made for sure. We are looking at a 4th different winner in 4 consecutive years, as Lasse Sorensen is now also being passed by Ricardo Ferreira in that Arnage competition car that's on the charge. Then on Thursday, the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship comes to a close in what has been a dramatic season. Martin van Lozenoord versus a certain Peter Berryman, Apex Racing Team versus Romain Grosjean Esports. Don't miss any of the action live on iRacing channels. Sorensen's slide through the field continues, indication that the gamble on 2 tires has not paid off for him, but ultimately with 6 minutes left on the clock, does it pay off for Simeon Lynch? Does it pay off for Kenny Roosens? That gap now back to Dominic Stabe, 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's close now at the front as Nathan Lewis, like I say, right now, if you're Simeon Lynch, Nathan Lewis is not your problem. Do not worry about the BS competition car. Most importantly, don't make contact with the BS competition car, because if there is any real contact between these two, then the 2 going through will be Williams Esports and Fira. Well, actually, Williams Esports and RHG, but we'll gloss over that one. We'll deal with that when we get to it. They cannot afford a mistake right now, because one mistake will take... If they get a 4X, they're both out of this.
It's a final 5 minutes of the race. Probably 4 laps to go this time around. Nathan Lewis has the draft, and he has the run in through the Parabolica. Surely Simeon Lynch can't fight this one back. Needs to release Nathan Lewis before they even get into the braking zone of the corner. And he does exactly that. Lewis to the point, although he's not making life easy for Simeon Lynch. Almost loses a bit of momentum on the entry to the corner. Now that gap, 2.4 seconds. Oh boy, if you're a Valkyrie Esports fan, which I know we had a couple watching on from the start, they must be getting pretty nervous now.
Yeah, just to give you a bit of a note, last lap time from Simeon Lynch, a 39.2. Last lap from Dominic Stabe, a 38.4. Stabe is flying right now, trying to close in, trying to catch the Valkyrie Esports car. And with that gap running around about a second, half a second quicker each lap, we're going for 4 more laps after this. That gap is going to be coming down very, very tight indeed. And for Williams Esports Chill Blast, they might well sneak their way through, which would be painful. It'd be tragic for Valkyrie Esports when they've driven so well today. I'd be very uncomfortable if I'm in that camp right now.
On board with the Chill Blaster, as John Heindorf was calling it, the Chili Blast car. Well, he was very particular that there was no G in the hiking media, but he added an extra I to the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. There is draft on the side of Simeon Lynch. That gap now ducks below 2 seconds. Surely, when, not if, but when Stabe closes up onto the back of the number 48 car, that's when we start seeing the punches being thrown. Defense coming out from Simeon Lynch.
I did tell you earlier in this race that someone is going to finish third and not by a large margin. I'm fearful that that is going to come true, because that is going to be painful for someone, whichever team it is, between Valkyrie Esports or Williams Esports Chill Blast. If it is one of those two that finish in third position, which seems very likely at the moment, it is going to be one of those two, as our large competition get past PRT Ronin Simsport and up into 6th position, so further progress from Ricardo Ferreira. Someone is going to finish third by a very small margin, and to be fair, you'd say undeservedly so. They are out of this competition completely, despite having driven so very well. But that's the nature of competition like this. Only 2 are going through. Race it out. That's what we're here for.
And if the clock had worked in their favor, it would have been 1 to go this time around. Instead, just over 2 minutes on the clock. It will be 2 more laps as the sun continues to set, not just here in the Hockenheim ring, but on the 2021 BMW SIM GT Cup. That gap, 1.3 seconds. 0.6 was the advantage for Dominic Stabe last time around as the slide for PRT Ronin continues. They've lost 3 positions in the course of just 1 lap. I think Valkyrie might just have enough, but it's going to be close, and it's going to require some defense on the final lap of this race.
Yeah, they're going to have to play their cards right, because I'm going to say that going down into the hairpin on the next time by on the very last lap of this race is going to be very, very close between Valkyrie Esports and Williams Esports Chill Blast. I don't know which one is going to come out on top, and that's the joy of watching racing like this. The gap being around about, say it was 1.3, 1.4 seconds at the start of this lap. It is coming down the last lap. The pace has been a bit, they've responded a little bit, has Simeon Lynch. It was just 0.6 of a second, the Williams Esports Chill Blast, but let's be honest, if you times that 1 by 2, it's 1.2 seconds, which is pretty much bang on the gap they had at the start of this lap. It is going to be very close running into the checker.
And to quote Murray Walker, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass. Dominic Stabe has done the hard work to catch, but now, with 1 lap to go here in the BMW SIM GT Cup, tickets to Sim Live on the line. Who's going to emerge out on top? BS Competition has scampered away at the front now. It's a 2-man showdown. It's Simeon Lynch for Valkyrie. It's Dominic Stabe for Williams Esports Chill Blast. Here we go. 1 lap to go. What does Lynch still have left in the tank?
Yeah, and we doubted this strategy. We doubted the taking the 4 tyres. We thought it was more risky to do so. A little bit wide, though. Look at that from Williams Esports Chill Blast. They've run out over turn 1, trying to carry a little bit more speed. They have more instant points to use up than other teams. Let's see. Very, very close, running down into 2. Going through 3. It's a little bit wide there for Valkyrie. This is not looking good around the parabolica into the hairpin.
And there's another issue. 1 more off track for Simeon Lynch. Drive-through penalty, which would be converted into a post-race time penalty now. He can't afford there to be any contact as we work our way into the hairpin. 1 final time. Stabe pinches the Valkyrie car all the way to the inside. Long way around. Can they avoid touching doors? Yes, they do. But Dominic Stabe, long way around. He steals 2nd spot away from Valkyrie Esports.
Heartbreak for Valkyrie, absolute heartbreak for Valkyrie, but it is certainly not done yet. They're going to throw everything at it. Look at this dive back down the inside. He's going to make it stick. Simeon Lynch, superb stuff, doing absolutely everything he has to. Good job that Williams Esports were wise to it and just opened the door from Dominic Stabe. That was crazy and might just do it.
1 more chance through the stadium. How much does Dominic Stabe want this? It's all on the line. To the inside, he'll look. To the inside, it's covered off by Simeon Lynch. My word, what a season it's been. It started at the high banks of Daytona in January, but the BMW SIM GT Cup has delivered across 2021. At the front, though, and securing their spot in BMW Sim Live, it's Nathan Lewis, it's Phil Denez. They emerge victorious, but crucially, Simeon Lynch, what a drive in the final lap. He holds on to second spot. What drama here at the Hockenheim ring.
And mate, if you go back and look through the Sachs curve and through the final corner at Valkyrie Esports, they are lucky not to get a 4X, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to them. They did, like Simeon Lynch did everything perfect. There was a couple of bits of contact from Dominic Stabe directly behind. Thankfully they'd be ticked off as 0Xs, and Valkyrie with the response. That is what we're talking about.
Let's go ahead, one more look at this, because this was great stuff. And again, this would have been heart-in-mouth moment if you're watching as Kenny Roosen. First, how close do they get here coming off the exit of the hairpin? Lynch doesn't get the drive, but he tucks himself back into the draft, and this was crucial. The respect shown from Dominic Stabe to recognize the send was coming, to leave the room, to avoid turning in. Incredible. Almost in stark contrast to what we saw yesterday at the end of the Motul Petit Le Mans with Felipe Nasser and Ricky Taylor, where Felipe Nasser moved under the brakes to basically force Ricky Taylor off the road. That was incredible.
But keep your eye on this. So there's going to be a dive back to the inside from Stabe to the inside at the Sachs curve. Very, very close. Didn't really get alongside. There was a little bit of a tap on the rib, but wait till the final corner here. Watch this. It is so close. And like I say, you've got a final couple opportunities. Very defensive from Simeon Lynch. Allowed the Williams Esports Chill Blast to get back down the inside. There's a little brush between them there coming across the line. That is two drivers racing as hard as is humanly possible in the best possible way. That is heartbreaking for Williams, don't get me wrong. We are, it feels bad to throw them out right now, but what a race that was.
Incredible. And it's only fitting that we got a race like that to close off the season, isn't it, Lewis? Because it's been great. I mean, the M8 GTE first, we saw some classic stuff between, especially Verstappen and Rogers, where I think there was definitely some tension between those two drivers. And then this M4 GT3, not necessarily the most popular. We lost a lot of the drivers. For example, Coanda didn't even show up here in Season 2. But still, these drivers put on a show, and Hockenheim, what a way to close things off.
That was a fitting way. I mean, for a race that we had some excitement in the first bit, from the start of the second stint, it was almost a little bit, to be honest, I'll say it was a little bit flat. But boy, that built up into something very, very special. BS Competition coming back, taking the victory, getting their spot into BMW Sim Live, and Valkyrie Esports, the underdogs in that sense, battling with Williams Esports Chill Blast. That was just, that's what we want. And going into BMW Sim Live next week, it's going to be a massive boost of confidence for these getting through at the final moment.
And with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our race results. Shouldn't be any post-race infractions from race control other than what happened with the number 6 car. Ultimately, it's Nathan Lewis and Felipe Denz, or Phil Denz as we like to call him, that come out on top here at the Hockenheim ring. 4 tires, clearly the way to go for them, but for Valkyrie Esports, for Kenny Roosens, for Simeon Lynch, somehow they hold on to that one. Some great respect shown, though, between Valkyrie and the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. Dominic Stabe really showing just that you can race clean here on the iRacing service. For Fire Sim Sport, Mikkel Gard will then drop down the order as a result of that 10-second time penalty. Promotes Julian Sonnen up to 4th, but again, in effect, 3rd on back. It didn't matter where you finished. It was all about being in the first 2 positions at the end of 2 hours of absolute action. Augustin Canapino in 6th alongside Gustavo Ario. Pretty close finish between those cars, with the PRT Ronin car not far behind. Lasse Sorensen for Fire Sim Sport Yellow dropped through the field in the second portion of the second stint. Arnage Competition completes the top 10. Not the day that Valtteri Alander would have wanted alongside Antti Ahola after running in second. Turned around in the hairpin as a result of contact that was really instigated by the number 6 Fire car. Williams Esports Razor also got the worst of that. Other retirements include the Urano Esports Hiking Media Machine, with BS Plus Competition having their own issues at the hairpin. R8G Esports and Florent Lebigre. also retired as a result of all that chaos early on in the race. Well, take a breath and relax, because the 24 drivers are locked and loaded for BMW Sim Live, but it's that time where we get to tell up the winners, and we get to celebrate alongside Phil Denez and his teammate Nathan Lewis. First up, Phil, congratulations. You've secured your tickets to BMW Sim Live. I do have to ask, how are you feeling after having to wake up so early for this one?
Tired.
Probably puts it mildly.
But man, it was awesome. I had my morning coffee. I think that was enough to wake me up, and you know, I had a decent qualifying. You know, it wasn't the best lap, but it was enough to get us into third, and I think I saved a lot more fuel than everyone else somehow, and we managed to just pull off the strategy perfectly, and Nathan killed it in the second stint as well. I just couldn't be happier to punch our ticket in right at the finale, and I feel like we really deserved this spot.
Talk to us a little bit about the chaos that we had down into the hairpin for you guys. I mean, you managed to get through it, you know, safely, but I do think you got a little bit of damage as a result of that. And you must have been thinking back with all of that to what happened at Imola, where you got mixed up with lap traffic. Because if we're being honest, Phil, you probably should have locked yourself into Sim Live back in August.
Yeah, well, you know, it's such a tough situation when everyone's in this pack drafting, and everyone wants to make up the positions but save fuel at the same time, you know. And Lasse kind of went for a late move, and I tried to defend it, but I said, it's too risky, so I backed out of it. And I guess he went a little bit too deep and touched Kova, and actually I didn't get touched at all. I just went around the outside, and it was smooth sailing with Valkyrie Esport car, and yeah, it was awesome.
And you don't get much of a turnaround time here now, because just in a couple of days' time, we're racing in BMW Sim Live, 24 drivers with a great prize pool on the line, some really cool trophies as well, I'm sure. What are you looking forward to? I can tell you it's a two-part race. One of them, you don't even know what the track is going to be, because that's up in the air, up for the fans to decide what they want to see. How much are you looking forward to this to close off the year?
Oh, I'm extremely looking forward to it. I think Nathan and I just need to put in the work and do our absolute best and see what happens in these next 2 races.
Congratulations, Phil. Great drive from you and your teammate. Go off and celebrate and probably get some more coffee in your system.
Thank you. Gotta say thanks, BS Competition. What an awesome team. And thank you guys for putting this on.
So that was Phil Denez, the man from Monterey, California, winner here today. And dramatic fashion for Valkyrie Esports, but they do indeed lock themselves into BMW Sim Live, and Lewis McLeod is now standing by with the driver that started this car from pole position. It's Kenny Roosen.
Yeah, let's talk about. We'll go with the slightly calmer stuff in a sense. Let's go with the first stint of the race to begin with. Talk us through how that was with the pressure behind. Obviously, you had Anti-Ahola all over you in the rear, on the rear all the way through that first stint. But it was a massive train. Were you kind of concerned about that train attacking at any point, or were you just pretty happy driving and doing your own thing?
Yeah, well, first, my quality lap was really decent, and after the first few laps, I really tried to push, and then I see I couldn't really pull away because of the draft. So yeah, I start saving fuel, because I think with my fuel calculator it say I had to save like 5 liters to didn't make any splash and dash. So I start saving fuel, and then it was a big train. So the only option for Simeon and I was for me to keeping slowing down everyone, and then expecting for someone to make a move and make some gaggle. And then I think 10 laps before the pit, they had a contact behind, so I could just start pushing, and then Phil and I pull away from the rest of the pack. I think we had 4-second gap to Williams P3, and yeah, after that we decided to not change any tires, and Simeon did an amazing job. So yeah.
And we will hear from Simeon Lynch in a few moments, don't worry. But I'm going to ask you about how tense it was for you in the last few laps. Obviously, watching on, the race is completely out of your control. You just have to trust in your teammate that everything's going to go through. The instant points were ticking off. How was it watching, or could you even watch? I mean, I know of people that have had to leave and just be like, I can't even be here at the moment. It's so intense.
Well, honestly, after the pits, after watching the first few laps, I was gonna say, yeah, okay, it should be easy. They are only catching like 4/10. But then the last few laps, they were really catching a lot because I think we end up with a really bad tire wear. And honestly, the last lap, I thought it was over. And then Simeon pulled up such an insane move. And I still can't believe him because this guy is such a beast.
And let's talk about that move. Simeon Lynch, who is in here as well. Where did that move come from into the arena section? Absolutely amazing.
Well, it was the last lap, so, and I knew if I didn't send it there, then we would have come third. So it's one of those moves where it's a risk, especially since I think at that point my tires were finished. So yeah, luckily Dom raced clean and didn't just close the door, and yeah, it came off luckily.
Now, with the instant points being as high at that point, was there a concern that just one bit of contact and you were basically done for the day? Was that on your mind constantly, or was it just race as hard as you can?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit nervous. Obviously, I think we had one instant point to spare, so like I say, it was a risk to send it, but again, it takes two, and luckily Dom was clean and saw it coming essentially. It was really tense at the end as well because he was a lot faster than us at the end. So.
Well, I think we all deserve to give you you deserve a round of applause from everyone watching. It was an incredible race and amazing to watch it come down to the wire like that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So that
back to Arjuna. We'll move on from that. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and that was incredible. What a finish to the year we've got. And, of course, still not done. The on-track action will continue in just a couple of days' time as we get geared up for BMW Sim Live. And what a way to head into Sim Live as well. I am so excited. I am so pumped. And it's not just Coanda versus Redline. I think that's to remember. Yes, they are the dominant forces across of sim racing right now, but there is still so much excitement, Lewis. There is still so much to play for, and for being completely honest, I don't think they're going to have it all their own way.
No, absolutely not. I said we've got 24 drivers in BMW Sim Live, and yes, 8 of them are Coanda, 8 of them are Redline. Absolutely. But there are still 2 Covers, there are 2 MSIs, there are 2 Valkyries, there are 2 BS competitions, and it's fitting that they would sneak past Redline and Coanda whilst they could be potentially tripping up over themselves. We don't know what's going to happen, and that's the joy of this style of racing.
Absolutely, and I'm just now really, I was, before I came into this race, I was not really thinking I was the biggest fan of this finale format. I like bigger grids. I think maybe we could have double the amount of cars that we had, but ultimately, excitement's what we want. Excitement is what was delivered, and maybe next year we can increase the size of these finale grids, but ultimately I think they're a great way to cap off each of the years, each of the seasons, with the M8 GTE taking center stage to kick things off, the M4 GT3 to round things out in the year. Maybe next year it's all about the M4 GT3 because, of course, the M8 GTE, in effect, being put out to pasture now in real-world motorsport.
It does mean, though, that maybe we can bring it back at least for next season. The thing is, with the joy of sim racing is that in motorsport, whilst I know they do bring out these classic cars every now and then, but for the most part, it's once that car's done, that car's done. Well, we won't really see it in proper competition against a grid of that stature ever again. It's retired and you'll see it run around a bit. In sim racing, though, these cars, whilst they get retired, they live on. They can still be raced, whilst it's not likely, but it's a possibility that it's definitely not going to be the last time we see the M8 race in full action. Anyway.
Some sort of action. Of course, there was a tweet that Turner Motorsports put out, some of the best social media content, if we're being honest, across of all of motorsport. They're looking to sell some lightly used M6 GT3s. They had Will Turner himself doing the salesman's duties. Let's get some predictions then, because we're not going to have much time to talk about this during the Sim Live event itself. Let's start with, of course, what we saw here today and how you think things will shake up for BS competition and for Valkyrie Esports, because this is good momentum on their side, but Who do you think is going to come out on top? It's pretty wild. Remember, 24 drivers have qualified, and they won't be competing as teams. It's all about being yourself and the fastest driver you can be across 2 races. The first race, remember, voting starts tomorrow, so you can get involved. Twitter.com/BMW Esports to pick the track that we'll see in action. That will set the grid for the second race. It's a predetermined track. It will be the Red Bull Ring in the BMW M4 GT3. We know just how crazy that can be, Lewis, and it's going to be about good grid position. I think that's for sure. Making sure you're not at the back, as assuming we're going to get chaos like we expect into turn 3 here at the Red Bull Ring. Turn 2. Sorry, I know you're going to strike me up.
Yeah,
on that one.
I wasn't going to get on you then, but I will next week. Don't you worry. Unfortunately, like for some of these drivers, whilst they might be good in the M4, they need to be good in both the M4 and the M8. That is critical to coming out on top in a week's time. That's why it's maybe a little bit more unpredictable, and why those those drivers that are good in the M8 might come out on top. I'd actually be leaning, if we're going to ignore Redline and Commander, let's play with that. I'd actually be leaning a little bit more towards either of the Cova drivers, as we know they've got good experience in both the M8 and the M4, and I think they might be the ones to sneak it. And we know what Cova are like. They love just flying under the radar and then being like, oh, see you, Commander, we won. Have fun.
If we're not picking a Coanda or Redline driver, because I think it's going to be hard to top Josh Rogers, if I'm just being completely honest, or even Charlie Collins, Dane Warren. We saw the fight that they put up in the VRS SEO Sprint Masters to close off the summer of action in GT3. I think very hard to count out the Welshman or the Australian. I think MSI Esports. I think Alejandro Sanchez.
Very good choice. I mean, quality driver for a quality team, and moving from strength to strength is the thing that we've pointed out with Alejandro Sanchez before. Whilst he's always been a good driver, there's just been a few things that have clicked over the last sort of 12 months and has got stronger and stronger and stronger. There are a couple of other drivers, though, that can sneak one in. I'm just more concerned that the likes of Josh Rogers, might trip up over racing hard with the likes of Max Benecke and that's where some of those favoured drivers might not actually come out on top, and it allows someone flying under the radar, maybe like even Charlie Collins, to take top honours.
Well, what a roller coaster ride it has been. We started in January. 24 golden tickets have been handed out to BMW Sim Live. Don't miss any of the action live on BMW's esports Twitch channel. Hopefully back in action for this coming weekend. It's been a great season for the entire team at RaceSpotTV, for my co-commentators over the season, Sommel Aurora, for Lewis McLeod, for Dougie Beard, providing all of our cameras for today's action. My name is Arjuna Kangipati. We'll see you then in a couple of days' time. 2-day affair, BMW Sim Live. It starts with R Factor 2, Assetto Corsa Competizione, and then on Sunday, the big showdown, the BMW Sim GT Cup final. 24 drivers, 1 winner across 2 races. For now, though, thank you for tuning in to RaceSpotTV. We'll see you for BMW Sim Live. Congratulations to BS Competition, to Valkyrie Esports, winners of golden tickets to BMW Sim Live.